The day begins for a village guardsman with the opening of the main gate. Nearby, Alfred is stirred from his sleep by Fem's barking. Alfred greets a pair of wolf pups. He asks Fem where their parents are, and she explains they've gone hunting for breakfast. The demon wolves have made a den under the storehouse, wanting to stay close to Fem. Vivi excitedly announces that she's going to complete the technique to revive Muffy, and Alfred agrees to come along. Vivi stops, confronting two others who have been following them in secret. They also wish to accompany her. Vivi questions if they'll interfere again. The girl apologizes, promising not to interfere and offering to help. The boy eagerly asks if the skeleton cow is there yet. Alfred steps in, suggesting they all have breakfast first, as Myrt is waiting for them. As they walk to their destination, Alfred confirms Vivi is okay with everyone observing. He's shocked to learn she was drawing the magic circle in the center of the village. He scolds her, pointing out how dangerous and frightening that would be for the villagers. Vivi explains with a blush that she just wanted everyone to be happy about Muffy's revival and got careless. The boy tries to comfort her, telling her not to feel bad. Alfred gently pats Vivi's head, reassuring her that he'll watch from the start this time and that they should find a place with more space. Vivi blushes intensely from his touch. Vivi, flustered, asks how long he plans on rubbing her head. Alfred laughs, telling her to just amaze them with her magic. She confirms they won't interfere. The others agree to watch from a safe distance. Vivi confidently begins drawing a large magic circle in the grass. Alfred, looking over her plans, is impressed and remarks on what an outstanding drawing it is. With the intricate magic circle complete, Vivi kneels in the center while the others watch from the edge of the clearing. She then casually tosses a small ball into the air. The young boy praises one of the wolves for its great work. Vivi, looking relieved, calls Alfred over to check the completed circle. After a quick look at her notes, he confirms that her work is excellent. Alfred praises Vivi, noting that her concept is great. He adds that her magic circles are a cut above everyone else's when she takes her time. Vivi proudly declares that everything is ready and warns the others to stay back as she activates the spell. Vivi places her hands on the glowing magic circle. With intense focus, she begins to chant. The massive skeleton on the ground begins to rattle and stir. As Vivi continues her incantation, the bones of the great beast begin to rise and assemble themselves. The process culminates as a hoof touches the ground, and the creature lets out a magical moo. The skeleton cow Muffy stands fully reanimated. Alfred is astounded, realizing it's mooing via magic since it lacks vocal cords. He joyfully tells Vivi that her technique was an incredible success. Vivi is overcome with emotion and calls out to Muffy. She runs towards it as Alfred shouts for her to be careful. In tears, she apologizes to the creature, confessing that she regrets causing its previous demise by enlarging it. Standing before the giant skeleton, Vivi tells Muffy that if it hates her, she won't mind if it takes its revenge. Alfred notes Vivi's resolve and prepares to intervene, unwilling to let her be harmed. Before he can act, however, the giant skeletal head lowers and gently nuzzles against a surprised Vivi. Vivi tearfully asks if Muffy has forgiven her. The cow moos affectionately. Vivi wipes away her tears of relief. Alfred observes that Muffy has forgiven Vivi. However, he grimly recalls that he was the one who had to put Muffy down in its previous life. A brief flashback shows the moment Alfred was forced to slay the rampaging beast. In the present, Muffy turns its attention from Vivi to Alfred. It opens its massive jaw and lunges toward him. The others gasp in shock as Muffy appears to chomp down on Alfred's head. However, their fears are quickly allayed as Alfred calmly explains that the cow was only play-biting. Alfred smiles and pets Muffy's snout, thanking it for coming back home. Vivi watches them with a happy, relieved expression. The commotion attracts some villagers, who are stunned to see the rumored skeleton cow. Alfred reassures them that Muffy is a harmless and kind cow, as his friends marvel at the amazing sight. They lead Muffy back to the storehouse, where Vivi instructs it to act as a guard. She tells it to feel free to explore but not to stray too far. As the wolf pups gather, Alfred notes with concern that their parents are still missing. One of the children asks what skeletons eat, and Alfred explains that they consume magic. Vivi adds that she will engrave magic circles to supply Muffy with energy. She cleverly plans to extract the magic from the drainage of the free-flowing hot springs so she won't have to use her own. Suddenly, the demon wolves begin to howl urgently. Alarmed, Alfred asks Fem what is happening. Fem's expression is grim as she delivers the news, her pack has found the hydra. Alfred's expression hardens with resolve. Understanding the gravity of the situation, he declares that they must go and subdue the beast. The young boy, Cruz, declares that while the hydra may have got away before, he will slay it this time. Alfred tells him to calm down for now. He then turns to Femme, who acknowledges her part in the coming fight. Femme states that her duty is to protect the forest, while Alfred instructs Vivi to stay and protect the village with Muffy. With the plan set, Alfred turns to Luca and Cruz and asks if they are ready. Luca and Cruz give a confident thumbs up, ready for battle. With a determined shout, Alfred leads the group as they dash off to confront the hydra. To action. Femme lets out a powerful howl, leading them toward the location of the hydra. Responding to the urgent call, Alfred and Femme rush through the forest. Following their guide, the group ventures deeper into the woods. Riding atop Femme, Alfred remains alert as they race towards their destination. They arrive to find a monstrous, multi-headed hydra. One of the party members remarks on its imposing size and warns the others to be careful of its poison, shouting for Cruz not to rush in alone. A companion expresses frustration at the hero's recklessness, calling it a limit to how heroic one should act. Despite this, she resolves to follow and provide support. As the battle commences, Alfred, riding Femme, unleashes a magical attack. The spell strikes one of the hydra's heads, causing it to spew black blood. Cruz leaps into the fray, slashing at the hydra's necks. In the assault, she is splattered with the creature's foul blood and cries out. Recoiling from the stench, Cruz complains about the foul odor. She is caught off guard when one of the severed heads lunges forward and chomps down on her hood, yanking her back. One of her companions watches on, remarking that if Cruz were a normal person, the poison covering her would have been fatal. The group watches in stunned silence. The hydra's severed heads begin to regenerate at an incredible speed, reforming before their eyes. Alfred confirms that the hydra's regeneration is abnormally fast. He quickly forms a new plan, instructing the others to keep cutting off the heads. He will use fire magic to burn the stumps and stop the regrowth. Despite being drenched in poison, Cruz is exhilarated by the battle, much to her friend's dismay. Meanwhile, Alfred directs Femme into position. He prepares to cast his spell. Alfred unleashes his fire magic, causing a massive explosion that engulfs the hydra's neck stumps. The effect of the spell is immediate and powerful. With the stumps carbonized, the spell is a success. Cruz excitedly declares victory, praising Alfred's power. Her companion warns her not to let her guard down, but agrees to entrust their rear to him. Alfred confidently encourages them to press the attack. Watching the display, Femme is impressed, recognizing the formidable strength of Al's party. Standing triumphantly over the defeated hydra, Cruz proudly declares the party's strength as the others look on. After the battle, the group celebrates their success. However, Cruz finds the scent of the burnt hydra appetizing, comparing it to grilled meat. Her companion is horrified by the thought. A pack of wolves appears and Alfred greets them warmly. He thanks them for their invaluable help in tracking down the hydra. He gives special thanks to Femme. Alfred realizes the wolves are drooling over the hydra's corpse. Cruz defensively tries to claim it for herself. Alfred offers it to the wolves, warning from experience that it tastes terrible. His companion is shocked to hear he's tried it before. Alfred explains he once took a bite as a child and learned his lesson. Cruz, however, is undeterred and insists on trying the meat, convinced it will be delicious. Disgusted by the idea, her friend tries to leave. To everyone's surprise, Cruz and the wolves happily devour the hydra meat. Alfred watches in disbelief as his friend makes the foul meal look appetizing. Afterwards, they collect their spoils and head for home. On their way back, the group discusses visiting a hot spring. Their conversation is cut short when Cruz suddenly cries out, clutching her stomach in severe pain. The party gathers around the ailing hero. Seeing Cruz struggling to walk, Alfred calls her an idiot and lifts her onto Femme's back. Cruz tries to brush it off, but Alfred is concerned. He checks on Femme, who is unaffected, and praises the Demon Wolf King's hardiness. He tells Cruz to hang on as they race for help. As they travel, a weakened Cruz thanks Alfred for his help. Alfred becomes suspicious, recalling that hydra meat, while awful, shouldn't be poisonous. He senses something is wrong. They arrive at a nearby village. Alfred bursts into a house carrying Cruz, urgently asking an elf named Millet to examine her. Millet is alarmed by the situation. She immediately prepares a bed for the sick hero. Millet checks on Cruz. She learns that Cruz ate hydra meat. Millet explains that as wolves, their bodies can handle it. Millet examines Cruz and concludes that while the meat itself isn't poisonous, it was likely contaminated with poison during the battle. She prepares a medicine to help with digestion and act as an antidote. Millet returns with the medicine. Cruz finds it repulsive due to its color and smell. After a hesitant sip, she recoils from the intensely bitter taste. Millet cheerfully reminds her that it's medicine. Getting impatient with Cruz's hesitation, her friend steps in. She forces her to drink the rest of it. After Cruz finishes the medicine, Alfred hopes she's learned her lesson. Her stomach rumbles loudly, a sign the medicine is working. Her companion tells her to rest and promises to watch over her. Just moments after being told to rest, Cruz leaps out of bed, declaring she is already cured. Her friend insists there's no way it worked so fast. 10 minutes later, the others look on as the fully recovered hero is back to her usual self. The group realizes they were wrong to judge Cruz's condition by normal standards. Now fully recovered, she runs outside to play. Millet is relieved that thanks to Alfred's party, everyone in the village can rest easy. Millet sighs contentedly, commenting on the refreshing and peaceful atmosphere of Mulg village now that the threat is gone. Alfred smiles, sharing her sentiment. Alfred agrees as he watches the village children happily playing with Fem. The peaceful scene is suddenly interrupted by a rustling sound from the nearby forest. A rabbit cautiously approaches the body. Nearby, a strange, dark object crackling with energy falls to the ground. The hydra's carcass suddenly twitches, asking if they can play. In the forest, a rabbit observes the hydra's remains. A smaller rabbit cautiously hops toward the carcass. A strange, dark object crackles with energy. The hydra's body suddenly twitches. Upon the group's return, Vivi expresses surprise at their speed and asks if everything is all right. He explains that Cruz had gotten sick, but is now fine after seeing Millet. Alfred reassures her that they have defeated the hydra, making the area safe again. Vivi is relieved to hear the good news. Vivi proudly claims that she and Muffy, the village guardian, played a part in their success. Alfred agrees, patting her head and thanking her for her role as a guardian. Vivi beams with happiness at the praise. The village children eagerly gather around to pet Muffy. They are delighted by how soft the skeletal guardian feels. One of the children affectionately calls him a good boy. As Cruz pets Muffy, a strange light begins to glow from his hand, prompting Alfred to ask what it is. Vivi becomes alarmed and tells him to stop, though she admits she doesn't sense anything wrong. Muffy seems to react to the mysterious light. The girls observe that Muffy seems to be comfortable with the light. One of them wonders if it could be the blessing of the heroes. Suddenly, the light erupts in a brilliant flash, startling everyone. The others are forced to shield their eyes from the intense light. Cruz is stunned as the light intensifies. A massive pillar of light shoots up from the village, visible from a great distance. After the light fades, Muffy is no longer a skeleton, but has transformed into a large, fluffy white beast. The group marvels at Muffy's beautiful new form. Alfred recalls that a blessing is a priestly ritual to imbue sacred power. Luca clarifies that a priest's blessing is a simple ritual, not nearly powerful enough to cause such a transformation. Luca explains that because Cruz is a special hero, he possesses the sacred power of God. Therefore, Muffy's transformation was a divine act. Alfred asks what Muffy has become. The cat-eared girl makes some confused guesses about his new form. Luca proudly announces that Muffy has become a sacred beast, which is essentially a saint. Vivi and Cruz confirm they can feel a holy aura from the transformed Muffy. The group showers the new sacred beast with praise. Alfred notices that even a nearby wolf pup seems happy in his presence. He wonders about the cause of this strange phenomenon. Alfred suddenly realizes Fem is missing and asks Colette if she's seen her. He comments on Fem's ability to disappear without a trace. The great wolf emerges from the forest. Alfred and his companion are startled by Fem's sudden appearance. Fem appears carrying a sick wolf pup and telepathically asks for Alfred's help. Alfred rushes to her side, asking what happened. She explains the pup has the same symptoms Cruz had. Alfred wonders if the hydra meat turned poisonous over time. The small elf child insists they must take the sick wolves to Millet. She runs to get help, while Vivi offers to create a temporary magic circle for recovery. As they race through the forest, Fem explains that she can't eat hydra meat. She was only drawn to it because one of her subordinates was hungry. They soon arrive at a clearing and find the entire pack collapsed and sick. Alfred apologizes to the wolves for not realizing the danger sooner. The cat-eared girl urges them to hurry and get the wolves to the village. Cruz demonstrates his surprising strength by carrying 2 wolves himself. Alfred prepares to ride on Fem's back to lead the way. Realizing they need to move all 12 wolves, Alfred decides to use his magic. He casts a spell to levitate the entire pack at once. He is confident, stating that his gravity magic is unmatched. Alfred effortlessly transports the levitating wolves through the woods as Cruz watches in awe of his power. Millet and the others call out as the group arrives. She explains she has already drawn a magic circle to ease the wolves' pain, and Alfred thanks her. Millet confirms the symptoms are stomach pain and vomiting. She recognizes them as the same symptoms Cruz had. As she rushes off to make medicine, Alfred thanks her. Alfred comforts the guilt-ridden femme, telling her she isn't solely responsible. Luca finds the situation strange. Alfred ponders her words. She points out that since Alfred has eaten hydra meat before, and the meat is not toxic, she concludes that the wolves' illness must not be from simple poison. Luca reminds a forgetful Cruz that he wasn't poisoned either. She explains that poison on the meat would cause sickness right away. She reasons that any poison would have been detected by the wolves' keen sense of smell. This leads her to conclude that the hydra itself must have been abnormal. Alfred agrees that he's never heard of such a thing happening. Luca asks to see the hydra skin Alfred collected. She examines it closely. Although it looks normal, she finds it unsettling. Cruz senses a heavy, indescribable atmosphere emanating from it, which makes Alfred uneasy. Luca announces she will take the sample to the royal capital for testing. As a researcher of mythological beasts, her expertise will help uncover the truth. She then gives the wolves a bitter medicine to drink. The wolves quickly finish their medicine. Femme praises the pups for taking their medicine. Luca teases Cruz that the wolves were better patients than he was. Alfred and Millet decide to wait until the next day to see if the treatment works. Femme thanks Millet for the medicine. Alfred tells her he will stay with Femme to watch over the pack. He adds that the sacred beast Muffy will also stay with them for the night. Cruz complains about Alfred getting to take care of Muffy. As night falls, Alfred watches over the animals. He is glad to see the entire wolf pack sleeping peacefully, gathered around the gently glowing Muffy, and wonders if the sacred beast has a healing aura. Alfred observes Femme. She tenderly licks the heads of her sleeping pups, a clear sign of how worried she was. He reflects that the pack is happy to have such a caring king. Under the peaceful night sky, the wolves and Muffy rest. As dawn approaches, one of the pups wakes up and begins to lick Alfred's hand. The next morning, Alfred is greeted by the entire wolf pack, now fully recovered and in high spirits. He is overjoyed to see that they are all well again. Femme telepathically expresses her deep gratitude. She states that they couldn't have recovered so quickly without Alfred's help. Femme seems to think the danger has passed, but Alfred corrects her. He declares that they will investigate the mystery of the hydra's poison. He reassures Femme that they will solve it together. Alfred tells Femme that it's not time for her to be sad. With determination, he announces that they will go and that he will return the favor she has shown him. Alfred and his companions stand in the clearing where they had killed the hydra. A girl with cat ears voices her disappointment that the mystery of the immortal hydra remains unsolved, while Vivi notes the absence of any magical residue. Alfred agrees, finding the clean state of the area strange. Alfred is certain this was the place, but it's completely clean. Meanwhile, Femme detects the scent of a person. Alfred asks where the scent is coming from, and Femme announces she will try to follow it. Vivi attempts to find the scent as well, but seems to come up with nothing. Vivi excitedly calls for Alfred to look at her discovery. She points out a hidden magic circle glowing faintly on the forest floor. Alfred commends her, noting the circle's immense size and its apparent purpose for targeting large monsters. One of their companions rushes over, shouting that the situation is serious. She explains that there is a massive group of monsters nearby, and Alfred gets a bad feeling. Alfred is shocked to learn it's not just one monster, but an entire group. The group discovers a giant beast farm filled with creatures far larger than a hydra, posing an immense threat. The blonde girl asks if she should engage the monsters, while Alfred declares he cannot allow them to remain. He pieces together that the hydra they killed must have originated from this place. Alfred wonders who could be behind such a large-scale operation. Seeing her eagerness, Alfred reluctantly agrees to let her fight. Alfred instructs his companion to stay alert, promising to support her from behind. She grips her sword, ready for the fight. She unleashes a powerful slash against the monstrous beasts. The figure remarks on their impressive dodge. The blonde girl states she was just thinking about how to lure the monsters out. The hooded figure thanks them for arriving, saying it saved him a lot of time. Vivi asks who the stranger is, and Alfred demands to know why he was looking for them. The hooded figure states he is not interested in humans. He addresses Vivi directly as the fourth heavenly king of the Demon King's army, much to her surprise. He accuses her of failing in her duty to restore the army. He calls her a traitor. He introduces himself as Cardi, one of the 12 celestial warriors who will be her judge. Vivi is left speechless and panicked by the accusation. Alfred calmly states he doesn't know who Cardi is, which infuriates the demon. Cardi furiously accuses them of ruining his zombie dragon invasion plans. Alfred processes this new information. He understands now that this dark wizard was the creator of the zombie dragon. Alfred mockingly asks if all demons like to talk a lot. He continues to taunt Cardi for yammering on. Cardi retorts that it doesn't matter. Cardi declares that their chatter is pointless because they are all about to die. He commands his horde of monsters to attack. Immediately, one of the beasts is violently destroyed. Another monster is instantly obliterated. Cardi is left stunned and confused. Cardi moves with incredible speed, striking down the blonde girl. He smirks, remarking that it was easy. The girl is stunned by the swift attack. A basilisk unleashes a bright, petrifying gaze. Cardi laughs, certain of his victory, as no human can resist the basilisk's stare. However, the petrified monster simply finds the gaze dazzling. Cardi is utterly bewildered by this outcome. The girl easily shatters the binding spell, claiming she doesn't mind because of her strong body. Cardi is horrified, questioning what is happening. Her sword drops, but a voice tells her that's not the right way to do it. The cat-eared girl dashes towards the basilisk. With a determined expression, she readies her attack. She slices the massive basilisk into pieces. Alfred begins to cast a spell, his hand glowing with magical energy. The cat-eared girl stands victorious over the remains of the monster. Femme leaps into battle, attacking another beast while Alfred prepares his magic. Femme bites down hard on the monster. Alfred completes his spell. The creature is instantly incinerated by a powerful fire spell. The monster is completely destroyed by the combined assault. Alfred turns to face Cardi. Cardi, sweating, demands to know who Alfred is. Alfred coolly reminds him that he previously claimed it didn't matter. With his companions behind him, Alfred calmly identifies himself as just an S-class adventurer. Cardi laughs nervously, realizing his mistake. He admits that he thought he could win his own way. He now understands that he is completely outmatched. From afar, his companion calls out to Alfred. She observes that the monster is totally charred. The charred remains of the monster begin to stir. Cardi frantically commands it to rise, revealing it was made to multiply. As the monster regenerates, Cardi boasts that it is immortal and they will die from exhaustion, but Alfred finally understands the situation. He realizes the reason Cruz and the wolves got sick was because the hydra had been turned into a zombie. Cardi explains that even though the monsters are dead, they are bound to this place by the control of the 12 Celestials. The cat-eared girl warns Alfred that the fight will never end. The blonde girl adds that their magic and stamina won't last forever. Femme growls, ready to kill Cardi, but Alfred holds her back. Alfred explains that they must capture him alive since zombification is forbidden and he will be tried for his crimes. He asks Femme what her plan is and tells her to run to the center of the farm. Alfred thanks Cardi for the information. Cardi is confused by Alfred's sudden change in tactics. Alfred smiles, now confident he can take care of the situation. His companion panics, unsure of what to do. Alfred, riding Femme, declares he will use magic to defeat them all at once and asks his friends for cover, a plan that elicits mixed reactions. Cardi screams for them to stop as they begin their assault. He realizes in despair that it's no use. Alfred begins to chant a powerful spell, invoking the Ice Queen and the great authority of heaven. He chants that they will freeze the impurities of the world with the celestial spear. He dramatically announces his full name, Alfred Reint. Alfred unleashes his magic, and a colossal wave of ice freezes the entire battlefield solid. Cardi is trapped in the ice, unable to believe what has happened. Alfred, standing atop Femme, tells Cardi to give up. Cardi furiously questions Alfred's identity. Alfred cryptically refers to his power as last night's magic, further enraging the demon. Cardi pieces together that Vivi, being the weakest, couldn't have defeated the zombie dragon. He concludes that it must have been Alfred's doing. Alfred admits he didn't do it alone. He then binds Cardi with a magical restraint. Cardi admits his defeat. Cardi declares that traitors must be punished. Alfred senses the danger and calls out Vivi's name. From afar, Vivi reveals she was expecting this. A magic circle activates beneath Vivi as the frozen monsters begin to crack. From the circle, thorny vines begin to sprout. The regenerating monsters are ensnared by massive vines. Vivi tells Cardi not to underestimate her. The thorny vines completely crush the remaining monsters. Cardi expresses his frustration as Alfred asks if there's anything else. Cardi looks down at the smoldering remains of his beast, defeated. Alfred asks Vivi how she managed to create the magic circle of grass. Vivi explains she prepared it as a backup plan in case they were in danger. Alfred praises her cleverness, much to her embarrassment. The group celebrates, declaring the situation resolved for the moment. As Alfred carries Femme, he confirms to a worried young man named Cruz that his stomach ache was indeed caused by the zombie meat he ate. Cruz anxiously asks if that is a bad sign and what he should do about it. A cat-eared woman explains that becoming a zombie means losing control of one's body and retaining harmful magic. She reassures Cruz that the danger has passed, since those zombies were just pets with enhanced regeneration. The explanation leaves Cruz looking horrified. She then reveals another method of creating zombies using special, magically modified parasites. Cruz is terrified by the talk of parasites and zombies. Alfred wonders if the medicine Millet gave Cruz should have eliminated any worms if it was a proper antidote. Realizing this, Cruz panics and declares he must find Millet immediately, then runs off. Cruz frantically runs up to Millet, who is with the wolves. In a panic, he begs her to get the worms out of him, but she is startled and tells him to calm down. Millet reassures Cruz that the medicine she gave him already took care of the problem, much to his relief. Alfred and the others arrive, and he advises Cruz not to eat strange things he finds. Millet thanks Alfred for his hard work, and he gestures to the captured demon he brought back. Back at the village, Cruz happily plays with the recovering wolves. The cat-eared woman notes that the wolves are doing well thanks to Millet's medicine and the power of a holy cow named Muffy. The cat-eared woman explains that sacred beasts also possess the power to cure curses. Intrigued by this, Vivi gazes at the large, gentle Muffy with sparkling eyes. She eagerly runs toward it. Vivi happily pets the holy cow, Muffy. Alfred watches for a moment before turning his attention to their bound captive. Cardi lies defeated on the ground. Alfred confronts the bound Cardi, recounting his string of failures, from the zombie dragon to the hydras and basilisks. Alfred questions Cardi's belief that he can restore the Demon King's army. Cardi defiantly retorts that the Demon King will surely be revived. He points out that Cardi's zombie creation skills are abysmal and he can't even make the necessary parasites on his own. Alfred demands to know who gave Cardi the parasites. He then asks Vivi if there was ever a zombie specialist among the Demon King's forces. Vivi confirms there wasn't, adding that the Demon King was forbidden from creating zombies. She admits she doesn't know what happened after she and her allies were defeated and left the front lines. Alfred concludes that the authorization for dark magic was left behind by the Demon King. He taunts Cardi, telling him he should be ashamed for being the weakest of the 4 heavenly kings. Nearby, Cruz yelps as Femme playfully bites him. Alfred reflects that he was unable to get any more information from Cardi before the demon was taken to the royal capital. The scene shifts to a warm meal, which Millet announces is ready. However, the cat-eared woman asks to say a few words first. The cat-eared woman announces that they have decided to leave for the capital the next morning. She thanks the townspeople for their hospitality. Upon hearing the news, Millet becomes emotional, saying she will be very lonely. She tearfully embraces her friend. Cruz and Colette throw a tantrum, protesting the departure which Alfred notes is a bad influence. The cat-eared woman reminds Cruz that he has important work in the royal capital. To cheer everyone up, Alfred tells them they can come and visit whenever they want. The offer delights Cruz. With their plans settled, Alfred declares it's time to eat. The group gathers for a final meal together. They share food with each other and the wolves as evening falls. He finishes his bowl completely. Alfred savors the delicious food. He then notices two of his companions making a peculiar hand gesture and curiously asks what they are doing. The next morning, the two groups say their farewells at the town gate. They exchange thanks and wish each other a safe journey, with the cat-eared woman reminding Alfred to keep her presence in Merg Town a secret. Alfred and Millet watch their friends depart down the forest path. Once they are gone, everyone decides to get back to their respective jobs. Alfred plans to help the mayor, while Millet will tend to the cows, and he decides to get on with his own work. As Millet and Vivi walk off, Alfred watches over them. He thinks to himself that he will continue to watch over them and do his best, as they are all counting on him. S-rank adventurers Cruz and Luca have received information that dragon zombies are heading to attack the royal capital and have set out to stop them. Luca impatiently urges Cruz to hurry. Though they successfully destroyed the Sorcerer's Research Institute, Luca sighs in frustration, realizing they were one step behind. Suddenly they both stop in their tracks, sensing something amiss. They are shocked to find that the dragon zombie's presence has completely vanished. Luca is bewildered, finding it impossible that the formidable dragon zombies were defeated so suddenly and easily. As she wonders about it, Cruz gasps. He senses a powerful magical beast nearby. He clarifies that it's not a dragon zombie but a hydra. He dashes off to investigate, leaving a surprised Luca behind. Cruz calls out that he's heading to Mulg village, and Luca frantically tells him not to go on his own. She stops to catch her breath, frustrated by his recklessness. As the sun rises, she acknowledges that her own speed is no match for his divinely blessed abilities. Luca arrives at a cabin and cautiously considers her approach. An elderly beastman greets her, asking if she is a traveler, and she confirms that she is an adventurer. He cheerfully asks if she is traveling alone. The old man seems suspicious, questioning why a beautiful woman with such light equipment would be in this remote region. Realizing this, Luca puts on a friendly smile and explains that she got separated from her party member, asking if she could wait there for a while. As Luca reaches for her adventure card, a loud boom erupts from the cabin and her expression hardens. She immediately apologizes and dashes toward the sound. She senses a rapid expansion of demonic power that, while not a dragon zombie, is still highly suspicious. Inside the cabin, Luca is confronted by a shocking sight, a massive skeleton being assembled within a magic circle. She recognizes them as cow bones, but their sheer size is immense. She recoils in horror, wondering if this is some new species of demon. Luca confronts the person responsible, demanding to know what she is doing. The girl, Vivi, angrily shouts at her to be quiet, declaring that no one will stop her from reviving Muffy. Luca is stunned, realizing that Vivi is attempting to create an undead. She recognizes her as Vivi of the Demon King's Army Elite 4. Vivi is delighted that she is recognized, while Luca mutters that she could never forget that face. Taking this as praise, Vivi puffs out her chest and imperiously demands that the lowly animal kneel before her. Instead of obeying, Luca rushes past Vivi. She decisively stomps on the magic circle, causing the massive skeleton to crumble into a pile of bones. Vivi is enraged, screaming at Luca for abruptly ruining the circle she had worked so hard to create. Luca explains that the sorcerers responsible for the greater dragon zombie admitted their connection to the Demon King's army. Declaring her vow to destroy evil, she states she will not hesitate to defeat Vivi. Enraged, Vivi insists that Luca is the evil one. She unleashes a swift fireball attack. Luca confidently deflects the fireballs with her sword. However, one slips past her defense and burns her leg. She cries out in pain and collapses to her knees. Vivi smirks satisfied and says it serves her right. Vivi flashes a wicked grin, reveling in her advantage over the injured Luca. Luca can only stare back in shocked disbelief. Vivi recounts the events, which culminated in a massive fire destroying the cabin. Vivi nonchalantly finishes her story, saying that is basically what happened. Vivi and Luca kneel in apology before Alfred, who gently pats Vivi's head, assuring them that he isn't angry. Later, the group relaxes together, and Millet happily remarks that living together is fun. Vivi and Luca look on, relieved and content. Since Luca and Cruz departed, Mulg village has become much quieter. This has allowed Alfred to return to his routine guard duties. Alfred reflects on his boisterous friends, confident they can get home safely. As he yawns from the peaceful atmosphere, Vivi approaches and teases him about it, and he apologizes, admitting it's just too peaceful. Vivi points out that free time is a good thing for guards, and Alfred agrees. The village is now more protected than ever, with Fem, his wolf pack, and the sacred beast Muffy all helping with defense. This realization makes Alfred feel unneeded. He recalls recently neglecting his duties to fight a hydra and a member of the Demon King's army. Feeling that he needs to prove his usefulness, Vivi notices his intense focus and asks what he's looking at. Vivi directs his attention to the village's field. Alfred observes that the plot of land is quite small. He also notes that the crops appear to be a bit lacking. Alfred is surprised Vivi diagnosed the problem so quickly, but she explains the soil is composed of magic crystals from the hot springs. She confirms this is bad for farming, a problem the Demon King's army also faced. Recalling her experience, Alfred asks for her expertise. Alfred praises her, calling her reliable and worthy of her title as one of the Elite Four. Vivi is visibly flustered by the sudden and sincere compliment. Alfred considers the idea of agriculture, admitting he has no experience but is willing to help with simple tasks. Overcome with excitement, Vivi suddenly grabs him and declares that they will cultivate the land together. Vivi eagerly drags Alfred along, reminding him that he has plenty of free time. She enthusiastically declares her expertise in land reclamation and her plan to transform the area into an abundant farm with their own hands. Seeing Vivi brimming with so much enthusiasm, Alfred is won over. He smiles and agrees it's a great idea, declaring that they will cultivate the land. Alfred imagines giving fresh vegetables to the villagers. He remembers they first need the mayor's permission, but Vivi has already dashed off to get it. He then turns to Fem and asks for permission to clear a part of the forest. With everyone gathered, Vivi explains the plan to cut down trees and plow the field. Alfred is surprised to see Millet is also joining. She excitedly explains that aiding new villagers with agriculture is an important job and she's happy to help. Fem proudly offers to handle the digging to ensure the future of the forest. Alfred thanks him, privately suspecting Fem's wild instincts are just making him want to dig holes. Vivi then enthusiastically insists that Muffy should be included as well. Alfred objects, saying Muffy is too large for the task, but Vivi counters that as a sacred beast, she can surely change her size. She passionately argues that if Fem can help, so can Muffy. Her outburst earns her a growl from one of the wolves, sending her hiding behind Alfred. Alfred wonders aloud if Muffy can indeed become smaller. To his surprise, Muffy responds with a moo. He asks Vivi if she understood that, and she confirms that Muffy said she can do it. However, Alfred clarifies that Vivi misinterpreted. Muffy doesn't understand speech and simply wanted to be petted. As Vivi whistles innocently, Alfred decides they should wait. He explains that Muffy only recently became a sacred beast and might develop such abilities in the future. Millet encourages her, suggesting they try to fill Muffy's shoes. Vivi apologizes to Muffy, asking her to watch over them instead. With that settled, the group enthusiastically sets off to begin their work. Arriving at the forest, Vivi announces their first task is to cut down the trees. Alfred eagerly volunteers, boasting that he can clear the area with a single swing of his magic blade, but the others quickly stop him. They advise him not to push himself, explaining that felling trees is delicate work. Annoyed, Alfred asks if they're treating him like an old man and insists that while he's a beginner, he can do it if they teach him how. Millet clarifies that they are simply worried about his knee. A young girl even asks if Uncle will be okay, leaving Alfred stunned by their concern. While grateful, Alfred has mixed feelings about everyone worrying so much about his body. Vivi gives him his first instruction, cut a notch in the tree to guide its fall. He agrees, though he wonders if his intentionally weak magic will be sufficient for the task. Alfred unleashes a slash of magic, but it's far too powerful. The tree immediately snaps and begins to crash down in the wrong direction, sending everyone scrambling for safety. In the chaos, Alfred manages to catch Millet, anxiously asking if she is okay. Blushing, Millet assures him she's fine. Alfred is embarrassed after his earlier boasts, realizing he went too far and hurt his knee in the process. Vivi and Fem rush over, scolding him for not being careful. Alfred promises Millet he'll be more careful from now on. He reflects on the not-so-great start to his agricultural experience, concluding that he will have to try harder to restrain his immense power. After his initial mishap, Alfred gets the hang of felling trees. With a successful crash, he looks to Millet for approval, who praises him for learning so quickly. Vivi steps in, using her magic to swiftly chop the branches off the felled trees. Alfred watches in amazement as she works. Millet compliments Vivi on her magnificent work. Alfred jokes that their true calling might be as lumberjacks, a sentiment Vivi agrees with. Surveying the cleared land, Alfred notes their significant progress. He decides they'll transport the felled trees and branches to the village commons for winter fuel, announcing he'll move it all with his magic. Millet is astounded by Alfred's display of high magic, remarking that he's a terrifying human for mastering it so casually. With Millet's encouragement, everyone pitches in to help move the wood. The group successfully transports the wood back to the village. Millet points out that the next step will be quite tough. Alfred looks at a remaining stump, which needs to be removed. He asks how people normally remove them. Millet explains the laborious process of digging out the dirt, chopping the roots, and using a cow to pull the stump out. Alfred considers how intensive the job seems. He wonders aloud if there's a way to use magic to make it easier. Seeing him pondering, Vivi playfully lanes in and asks if he's stumped. Admitting that he is, Alfred is surprised when Vivi confidently volunteers to handle it. She explains that a magic circle she devised can solve the problem instantly. Vivi prepares to cast her spell on a stump. Vivi's spell creates a vortex of fire, which she explains is a fusion of fire and wind magic. Millet adds that the wind supplies air to burn the roots completely, and the resulting ash serves as excellent fertilizer. Alfred is impressed by the cleverness of the spell. He instructs Vivi and Al to engrave the magic circles into the remaining stumps. Vivi gets a competitive idea. She challenges Alfred to see who can burn the most stumps. Before he can respond, she dashes off, leaving him to shout after her in protest. Alfred complains that the competition is unfair, as he's a complete novice at agriculture. Vivi, however, flashes a confident and smug grin, ready for the challenge. Vivi is completely in her element. With a smirk, Alfred accepts her challenge. She challenges Alfred to keep up with her. The others watch and cheer them on, with Millet simply happy that everyone is having fun. Soon, the entire field is alight with magical fires burning the stumps away. Millet feels it's hard to choose a winner when both tried their best. However, she announces that Vivi engraved magic into the most stumps, and Alfred graciously accepts his defeat. Vivi gloats to Alfred, telling him there's no shame in losing to a professional and that failure helps one grow. She then runs off to celebrate her victory with everyone. Alfred watches her, slightly exasperated by her cockiness. The others gather around and praise her amazing magic. Feeling great after the work, Alfred states that they now need to check if the roots have been completely burned away. He calls upon Femme for the task. Femme confidently accepts, stating that they will check by digging into the holes. Femme and the wolf pack begin digging with ferocious intensity. The sheer display of their wild instincts leaves Alfred, Millet, and Vivi completely stunned. After their vigorous digging, the wolves are covered in soot. A young elf girl excitedly points out to her sister that one of the wolves caught a mole. Millet praises the wolf, declaring it an amazing feat. Millet and the young girl shower the wolf with praise, calling it a good boy for catching a destructive pest. This praise motivates the rest of the pack. They begin digging with renewed, frenzied energy. Noticing the sun has begun to set, Alfred decides it's time to wrap things up for the day. Alfred decides there's nothing better than a dip in a hot spring after a hard day's work. Ever since he began staying at Millet's house, he has been frequenting the village bathhouse. In the changing room, Alfred reflects on the fulfilling day. He turns to the soot-covered Femme and tells him he'll be nice and clean soon. Alfred enters the partial open-air bath, admiring the ambience. He gets ready to wash Femme. He then gets to work vigorously scrubbing the dirt and soot off of him. After a thorough cleaning, Femme is sparkling. Alfred proudly declares him all clean, but Femme responds by shaking vigorously, soaking Alfred in the process. Alfred remarks on how good Femme smells now that he's clean. He finally gets into the hot spring himself to relax. Both Alfred and Femme let out a sigh of relief as they soak in the warm water, enjoying a moment of peace. Alfred savors the feeling of the hot spring, combined with the cool evening air. Femme asks about his knee, and Alfred reports that it's doing surprisingly well. He attributes his recovery to the village's nice hot water, though Femme doesn't quite understand his meaning. Their relaxation is shattered when the door suddenly slides open. Alfred is utterly shocked by the sudden intrusion. A completely naked Cruz bursts in, cheerfully announcing that Al and everyone else are here. A flustered Alfred tells Cruz to cover up. He demands to know why Cruz is there, confused since he thought he had returned to the capital. Cruz nonchalantly explains that he went and came back. He then adds that he isn't alone this time. Alfred recognizes another voice. A young woman enters, commenting on how nice Mulg village is. She expresses her delight at being brought to such a superb hot spring and asks if they should get in. As Cruz offers to wash the newcomer's body, she gasps upon seeing Alfred. Alfred casually greets Urina. She is left completely shocked and flustered by his presence. Urina lets out a piercing scream. She grabs Cruz, scolding him for his lack of shame and dragging him away. Alfred sighs, thankful for her normal reaction, and muses that things are about to get lively again. As Alfred and Femme head towards the bathhouse, he is surprised. He finds Urina there, who rises and tells him the bath is all his. Meanwhile, another girl bows repeatedly to him. A flustered Urina insists that Alfred forget what he saw. She laments that a saint's body shouldn't be seen before she is married. Alfred thinks that despite the chaos, it is now a time of peace. Urina is still shocked by the encounter with the supposed saint. Meanwhile, Cruz fawns over Femme, asking if he can communicate telepathically, to which Femme mentally corrects him. Alfred realizes he is a bit late with the introductions. Alfred introduces the newcomer as Urina, a member of the hero party and the strongest healer. He then asks why she is here, considering she had only just left the village a short while ago. Cruz proudly announces that he came from the royal capital, though Alfred is confused by this. Alfred finds this hard to believe, as even the hero couldn't make that round trip in just 2 or 3 days. Cruz then reveals that there's a secret in the storehouse. A portal opens, and Cruz explains that he had Vivi draw a magic circle for transportation that's connected to his room. He casually mentions that he used a dragon scale as an ingredient, surprising Alfred. Cruz excitedly declares that he can now live with everyone and has even brought his own bed, +1 for Urina. He explains that since Urina has recovered from the mumps, he wanted to show her the hot springs without delay. Alfred asks if Luca came with them. Cruz begins to tremble and stammers that Luca was busy. Alfred immediately sees through the lie, realizing Cruz is skipping out on work again without telling Luca. Deciding to let it slide for now, Alfred tells Cruz that since he's already here, he might as well enjoy the hot springs. Cruz then asks if they can keep his slacking off a secret from Luca, which Urina mentally notes he will get scolded for later. The group decides to head over to Mayotte to ask about dinner. Once there, Cruz knocks on the door and announces that he's back. The door creaks open, and a woman with cat ears and a smug grin welcomes them inside. Cruz and Urina are terrified. The woman grabs Cruz and pulls him inside. The door slams shut behind them. The woman is revealed to be Luca, who scolds Cruz for slacking off, misusing a dragon scale and lacking self-awareness as the hero. Cruz mutters apologies. Luca tells him to apologize to Mayotte as well, while Millet tries to calm everyone down. After Luca and Cruz apologize for the disturbance, Mayotte cheerfully tells them they are always welcome. Alfred suggests they all head to the hot springs now. Mayotte agrees, adding that they can visit the village anytime to relax. Cruz is overjoyed, calling Mayotte a goddess. He grabs a still annoyed Luca to drag her along. With that settled, the group heads toward the hot springs. In the bathhouse, the girls relax. Luca comments on how superb the village's many hot springs are, while Urina scrubs Cruz's back, who feels completely refreshed. The three of them soak in the warm water, letting out sighs of relief and enjoying the peaceful moment. After their bath, Luca feels that if Mayotte says it's okay, then relaxing once in a while is fine. Urina feels incredible and says her fatigue is gone. Luca then teases Cruz, asking if this means he's looking forward to work tomorrow. The next morning, everyone is refreshed from the hot springs. Luca asks Alfred how the land cultivation is going. He replies that it's been fun, and though Vivi complains about the amount of work, she is ready to do her best. Luca announces their plan to use a cow to plow the field. The group happily greets the cow, Muffy, who seems happy to see them. Cruz says he's also looking forward to seeing the completed field. Vivi is amazed that Cruz appears to be conversing with Muffy and asks if he understands Kaolingo. Cruz denies it, but Vivi asks him to request that Muffy become smaller, just in case. Cruz obliges and asks Muffy if she can become smaller. In a puff of smoke, Muffy transforms into a tiny, adorable version of herself. The transformation leaves Alfred and Vivi completely stunned. Cruz is confused by their shock, explaining that it's normal for sacred beasts to communicate telepathically. Vivi tentatively approaches the small Muffy. Vivi joyfully hugs the tiny Muffy, exclaiming how adorable she is. She rallies everyone, declaring that with Muffy's help, they now have the strength of 100 men to cultivate the land. With Vivi steering the plow, the tiny but mighty Muffy begins plowing the field with surprising force and speed. The work progresses at a record-setting pace. Alfred watches with a smile, thinking Muffy is probably enjoying herself. With the ground prepared, it's now time for Vivi's magic to finish the job by removing the magic from the crystals in the soil. With the magic circle in place, Alfred announces that their farm is all done. The group admires their impressive work. Vivi declares that this is just the beginning, and the real fun of farming starts now. Millet asks if they can plant vegetables now, and Vivi assures her that her magic circle is strong enough. However, Alfred explains it will take about 3 months for the magic to fully work, by which time it will be winter. He suggests they plant something easy like potatoes as farming practice, which they can harvest in the fall. The others are excited by the idea. Since it's getting late, they decide to have dinner and will ask the mayor for seed potatoes. The next day, the group is ready and excited to plant some potatoes. The group is shocked to learn there are no seed potatoes. The mayor apologetically explains that he would love to fulfill Al's request, but they simply don't have any to spare. Alfred apologizes for the sudden request, while Vivi asks what other seeds they have. The mayor feels dejected, reiterating that they have nothing to spare. The news crushes the group's spirits. Vivi is especially disappointed, feeling she got her hopes up for nothing. Back at the house, Colette asks her sister where the potatoes are. Alfred tries to comfort Myatt, telling her it's not her fault. From a nearby doorway, Cruz peeks out with a curious expression. Cruz runs out excitedly, asking if they finished the field. Alfred asks if he's slacking off again, but Cruz insists he has the day off. When Millet explains they have no seed potatoes, Cruz brightly suggests he can buy some in the royal capital. The others are stunned into silence, realizing they could have done that all along. Alfred wonders why he didn't think of it, as the others praise Cruz for his legendary heroics. As Cruz is about to dash off, Alfred stops him. Millet reminds him they haven't given him instructions yet. Alfred asks Myatt for a recommendation. She suggests Earl potatoes, which should thrive in their soil. Vivi observes that Cruz, who was crestfallen a moment ago, is now chipper. Alfred whispers to Millet that it's because Vivi is a simple creature, and they should keep a secret from her. He then grins and offers to help out too. As Alfred asks Vivi how the soil looks, Myatt's heart flutters. He suggests Earl potatoes, but Cruz thinks dragon eyes sound cooler. Alfred suggests buying both, an idea everyone enthusiastically agrees with. Cruz is about to rush off to buy the potatoes, but Alfred stops him again. He tells Cruz he will write a list and give him some money for the trip. While working, Alfred reflects on the tremendous amount of work it takes to produce a single crop. Cruz returns from his trip, and Alfred thanks him for helping on his day off. Cruz excitedly rummages through his bag for the seed potatoes. Cruz proudly presents what he calls the dragon's eye and the Earl seed potato. Alfred takes one and is horrified. He realizes it's just a thick, pungent and rotten burdock root. Cruz waits bashfully for praise. Alfred finds it awkward to tell him the truth. Vivi gets a whiff of the item and immediately identifies it as a rotten burdock root, asking Cruz how he could have bought that instead of seed potatoes. Cruz is in disbelief, insisting that the seller told him they were seed potatoes. As Vivi bluntly tells him he got scammed, Cruz collapses to the ground in despair, realizing they are just burdock roots. Alfred comforts the dejected Cruz and asks him to explain what happened on his shopping trip. Cruz recounts that while checking out the agricultural supplies store, a kind older guy approached him and warned him that the shop sold poor-quality goods for high prices. Alfred becomes suspicious upon hearing this. Cruz continues, explaining that the man then took him to an old shop. The shop was located in a back alley of the 8th district. Alfred knows it as a high-crime area, but the man had called it a well-kept secret. Cruz recalls how the shopkeeper initially said the money wasn't enough, but as he turned to leave, the man offered him a special price. Thinking he had got a great deal and a discount, Cruz made his triumphant return. Cruz apologizes, feeling it's all his fault, but Alfred comforts him, saying he did nothing wrong. He explains that the scammers knew Cruz was an easy mark and took all the money he had. Cruz wonders if he was the one who was wrong for being deceived. Alfred firmly states that the deceitful person was the one in the wrong. With a determined look, he cracks his knuckles. Vivi grins. They tell Cruz to leave this to them. Alfred promises Cruz that he will be sure to give the scammers a good punishment for deceiving him. With that resolve, he, Vivi, and Femme announce they are heading to the royal capital. As they prepare to head to the royal capital, Alfred mentions he will need a disguise. Vivi chimes in, thinking she will also need a disguise because she is a demon, as she fled the royal capital to come to Mulg village. Alfred reassures her, explaining that the capital has a large demon population, so she probably will not stand out much. Cruz complains about wanting a disguise too, so Alfred offers one to Vivi. Vivi is utterly terrified when she sees that it's a cow mask. Alfred asks Cruz where she got the strange mask. Cruz explains that she saw the realistic handmade masterpiece in a souvenir shop and had to buy it because it was so cool. Alfred thinks it is just useless and expensive. He reflects that Cruz is not only rich, but also an S-ranked adventurer and a hero recognized by the king. Cruz gives the mask to Vivi, who admires its cute eyes. Vivi puts on the cow mask. She asks Alfred for his opinion, and he gives her a flustered thumbs up, telling her it suits her. Delighted, Vivi nuzzles Muffy, happy that they now match. For his own disguise, Alfred decides to use something else. He dons a large fake beard and asks for their opinion, though he is unsure how reliable it is. Cruz is impressed, believing no one will recognize him. Vivi, however, bluntly states that he just looks like Al wearing a fake beard. Worried about being recognized by an acquaintance, Alfred asks Cruz for another disguise. Cruz happily obliges, presenting him with a realistic wolf mask, which Alfred finds particularly scary. Alfred puts on the wolf mask, feeling it's more suspicious than the beard but better than having his identity revealed. Once he is ready, Femme gets excited. Thinking they match, Femme playfully leaps at him, but Alfred calms the smaller wolf down, promising to play later. With their disguises on, Vivi declares it's time to punish the scamming shopkeeper. Alfred then casts a transportation spell. As the spell activates, Alfred realizes that this is the first time he has ever used transportation magic. The group arrives abruptly, stumbling out of the portal and into a richly decorated room. The group is stunned to find themselves in a massive, luxurious mansion. Vivi asks if it is Cruz's house, and Cruz proudly confirms that it is. Deciding to be stealthy to avoid alerting the maids, the group sneaks out of the mansion. Once outside, Vivi gazes around in awe, taking in the sights of the royal capital. Vivi marvels at the huge and beautiful city, while Alfred reminds her of their mission. Two ladies are startled by their bizarre appearance. Cruz spots the ladies from the neighborhood and greets them loudly. Cruz reassures them, explaining that the masked individuals are her friends. The ladies are relieved to see it is just Cruz's friends, and tell them not to scare them like that. Alfred is impressed that people from Cruz's neighborhood do not even blink at their suspicious appearances, thinking they must be well trained. The group decides to use the back alleys to avoid standing out. They make their way to the 8th district. Cruz points out the place where she was scammed. She declares they must scold the shopkeeper before he can trick another poor farmer. Alfred notes that the place looks more like a house than a store and doubts any real farmers would get scammed there. He tells Cruz to go in alone first to negotiate a refund. Vivi is worried Cruz can't do it by herself, but Alfred insists Cruz must try on her own first. He reassures her that they are right there to support her. The others decide to watch and see what comrades the scammer has. Cruz agrees and rushes toward the door. She knocks and calls out, but there is no answer. Finding the door unlocked, she opens it and asks if anyone is there. As Cruz struggles with the door, Alfred smashes it open. She cheerfully announces to Al that the door is open, though Alfred calls her a brute. A man inside yells at them for breaking the lock and tells them to leave, as they are closed. The shopkeeper recognizes Cruz and mockingly offers her more seed potatoes. Cruz explains that she was told they are actually burdock roots and demands a refund. The scammers erupt in laughter. In a flashback, Alfred explains to Cruz that what she bought are not burdock roots. He clarifies that burdock is a long and narrow vegetable. Cruz is confused, recalling that the shopkeeper had insisted they were seed potatoes, convincing her that someone else had tricked her. Alfred realizes the scammer is trying to confuse her. The shopkeeper continues his deception, asking if Cruz has proof they are burdock roots. He tells her to trust a real expert like him. He dismissively tells her to go home. Cruz stands firm, once again demanding her money back. With tears in her eyes, Cruz insists that Al told her they were burdock roots and demands her money back. Losing patience, the shopkeeper sighs. The scammers become aggressive, asking if she wants to start a fight and warning her not to complain if she gets hurt. Just as one of the men lunges for Cruz, Alfred intervenes. He states that selling rotten burdock root rounds is something he will never forgive. The scammers are left stunned, wondering what is happening. The rest of the group makes a dramatic entrance, with Vivi declaring that they are the ones who will pass judgment on the scammers. Femme lets out a low growl. The menacing group stares down the terrified shopkeeper. The shopkeeper yells at them for barging in and tells the pets to get out, a point Alfred concedes he cannot refute. Taking charge, Alfred demands they shut up and return the money. Cruz adds that they will take over the discussion from here, holding up the evidence. The shopkeeper smugly refuses a refund without proof. Enraged by his audacity, Vivi tells Muffy to attack. The mascot character charges forward, filled with rage. Muffy slams into the shopkeeper. His associate is sent flying across the room. As the scammers are being pummeled, Alfred watches the scene unfold with a look of approval. A distraught Cruz continues to cry for her money back. The chaos also sets off Cruz, who joins the fray and tackles one of the men, demanding her money. As the brawl gets out of hand, Alfred has to step in and shout for everyone to stop. After the beating, Alfred calmly asks the battered scammers if they are ready to return the money now. The shopkeeper, railing, finally agrees. He tosses a bag of coins towards them. Cruz excitedly grabs the money, thinking they succeeded. Alfred tells her not to kneel. He inspects the bag and notes that it is not the full amount. The shopkeeper smirks, pointing out that they never specified he had to return all of it. The scammers laugh, telling the group to go home and demanding damages. Vivi retorts that they have an unhealthy attachment to money. As the shopkeeper reaches for her mask, Alfred's eyes narrow and he agrees with her assessment. With a menacing glow in his eyes and a magic circle forming, Alfred tells the scammer that he, in fact, is the one with an unhealthy attachment to money. Terrified by Alfred's display of power, the shopkeeper shudders. He immediately surrenders all the money, apologizing profusely. Alfred collects the payment but sighs, tired of the situation. He then asks if they truly believe they are finished. Alfred informs the confused shopkeeper that returning the money does not absolve him of his crime, as fraud is a crime. The group then decides to take the now-dispirited and tied-up scammers to the Royal Capital Guard Station. After taking the scammers to the guard station, the group heads back to Cruz's mansion late in the evening. The guards are initially on high alert, but they avoid any trouble by pretending to be Cruz's retainers, relying on the hero's name recognition. At the station, the guards murmur amongst themselves about the hero Cruz. They ask the group for an explanation. Later, back at the mansion, Alfred apologizes to Cruz for involving her in so much trouble on her day off. Cruz insists it was her fault for running the errand. She feels down, admitting that she was the one who got scammed, though it was educational. Alfred tells her not to worry and promises to make up for her missed day off. He offers to do anything she wants, which gets her excited. She says she will think about it, and they continue on their way. After successfully buying seed potatoes, the group returns to Mulg village. Alfred knocks quietly, not wanting to wake anyone. Millet opens the door and warmly welcomes them back. Inside, they find Luca and Urina waiting up for them, having already eaten and bathed. Luca correctly guesses they went to the royal capital. A yawning Cruz apologizes to her for the trouble. Luca says she has things to say but is just happy everyone is safe and wishes them good night. She warns Cruz they will have a serious discussion tomorrow, prompting Vivi to jump to Cruz's defense. Alfred apologizes for their late return. Millet, yawning, says she is also going to bed. She tells them there is dinner in the kitchen before heading upstairs. Once the others have left, the exhausted trio of Alfred, Vivi, and Cruz collapse onto the furniture. Despite being exhausted and hungry, Alfred really wants to go to the hot spring. He decides to take Femme and Muffy with him, but Vivi objects, saying it is her job to wash them. Seizing the opportunity, Cruz reminds Alfred of his promise and declares that she too wants to go to the hot spring with everyone. Caught, Alfred suggests they all wash each other's backs. Cruz eagerly reminds Alfred that he promised to do anything she wanted, though she expresses concern about co-ed bathing. Defeated, Alfred agrees. Vivi encourages her, stating that a man cannot go back on his word. Later that night, with everyone else asleep, Cruz whispers that now is their chance. She puts a finger to her lips, telling Alfred that this will be their little secret. To avoid embarrassment, Alfred decided to change separately and is now in the hot spring. He tells Fem and Muffy they are clean enough to get in now. He then turns and seems to spot someone else approaching. Alfred notices Fem and Muffy drinking the spring water, which he also finds tasty. He muses on whether sacred beasts get thirsty. Just then, Cruz arrives, apologizing for the wait and explaining that Luca told her the spring water contains magic crystals, which is why it's tasty for magical beasts who consume spiritual power. Wrapped in towels, Cruz and Vivi make their entrance. Cruz joyfully exclaims that thanks to Vivi, her wish has been granted. Alfred is taken aback to see Cruz wearing a towel. He internally notes her newfound common sense after she'd previously entered naked. When Vivi asks if he said something, he denies it. Cruz then offers to wash his back to make up for his lost day off, but Alfred turns the offer around, insisting he will wash hers instead. Cruz is flustered by the offer. She finds the idea of getting her back washed embarrassing. Vivi, however, eagerly accepts on her own behalf. As Alfred scrubs Vivi's back, she remarks on how good it feels. Seeing this, Alfred invites a curious Cruz to join them so he can wash her back too. Hesitantly, a blushing Cruz accepts Alfred's offer, dropping her towel and entering the hot spring. Alfred happily scrubs Cruz's hair, who exclaims how good it feels and promises to wash his back next. Nearby, Fem dozes peacefully by the water's edge. As the group relaxes in the water, Cruz sighs that this must be the meaning of true happiness. Alfred chuckles, telling her that is quite an exaggeration. The mood shifts as Alfred asks Cruz about her injured knee. He inspects it, asking if she can still feel the Demon King's power. Cruz confirms that it still hurts, though it is bearable, and soberly adds that nothing has changed. Alfred admits he thought the Demon King's power might have weakened by now. He then reveals to Cruz that the pain seems to ease a little when she touches it. Surprised and delighted, Cruz asks if it's true. Overhearing this, Vivi enthusiastically declares she will help by rubbing it a whole bunch. Vivi joins in to help, but her efforts cause Alfred to yelp in pain. She confidently proclaims that with her power and feelings combined, his knee will surely heal in a flash. He amusedly asks Vivi why she is competing with Cruz. He then sincerely thanks both of them for their help. Cruz and Vivi blush happily. Fem and Muffy join the affection pile, licking Alfred's face. Cruz remarks on how popular he is. A flustered Alfred thanks them and begs them to stop. The next day, Alfred expresses his excitement about planting the seed potatoes. Vivi explains that they first need to prepare the sprouts. She says the process that normally takes weeks can be shortened to 3 days with his stimulation spell. Eager to begin, Alfred asks how he can help. Vivi tells him there is nothing for him to do, but suggests he take Muffy for a walk if he has free time. Cruz immediately says she wants to go too. Alfred reflects that Vivi's suggestion felt a bit lonely. Deciding to go for a walk, Cruz hops onto Muffy. Alfred tells Fem she is free to roam wherever she pleases. Cruz then challenges Fem to a race. Cruz clarifies that she wants to run, which seems to disappoint Muffy. Noticing this, Alfred points out Muffy's disappointment, and Cruz asks if the sacred beast wants her to ride. Muffy eagerly agrees and Cruz mounts up. Seeing their excitement, Alfred declares that they will all run like the wind. As they race through the woods, Cruz shouts with exhilaration, clearly having a wonderful time. Alfred rides on Fem's back as they race alongside Cruz and Muffy. They venture deep into the Demon Wolf King's domain, with Fem taking a big lead. Cruz remarks on the peace and quiet of the forest. Taking a break, Alfred recounts how Mulg Village was once plagued by wolves and boars. He explains that he befriended the demon wolves after killing a particularly massive boar. He asks Fem about creatures outside her territory. Fem replies that the bears are the strongest, and both Alfred and Cruz agree that bear meat isn't very good. Suddenly, Fem alerts them that something is coming. Muffy stops abruptly and begins to urinate, much to Alfred's surprise. Cruz explains that it's because Muffy drank so much of the hot spring water. A loud crash echoes through the trees. Alfred senses an unpleasant presence nearby. A massive, ferocious bear emerges from the forest, startling the group with its sudden appearance. The bear lunges forward and viciously attacks Muffy, who is caught completely off guard. Alfred and Cruz cry out in shock. After the attack, the bear retreats. Alfred observes that it seemed to be reacting to Muffy's pee. Fem finds the situation strange, noting that it's odd for a cautious bear to trespass so brazenly in demon wolf territory. Alfred questions Fem, reminding her that bears were supposed to be the strongest beasts here. Fem confirms the bear was likely reacting to the pee, but adds that it had surely been chased out of its own territory. The group is suddenly confronted by a horde of powerful magical beasts. With a grin, Cruz readies her weapon and asks Alfred if he minds if she kills them. With a confident smirk, Alfred prepares his own magic and tells her he does not mind at all. The battle is over in an instant, leaving Cruz amazed. She asks how long it took, guessing it was only about 10 seconds. Alfred figures these beasts also responded to Muffy's pee. Fem wonders why they are so far from their usual habitats. Cruz suddenly recognizes them from a previous encounter. Alfred connects them to the 12 Devas member they caught. However, he notes that unlike before, these beasts haven't been enlarged or zombified. Alfred feels that this was a natural occurrence, but a strange sense of discomfort lingers. For now, he decides they should dismantle the beasts to collect spoils and have Luca examine them later. After tidying up by burning the unneeded parts, Alfred prepares to head home. He asks Fem if he can ride her home. Suddenly, Muffy starts mooing at him. The sacred beast nuzzles against him, and Cruz wonders if it is just itchy. Muffy nudges Alfred, clearly wanting him to ride it instead, which leaves a stunned Fem speechless. Alfred asks Fem if she would mind. She turns away, telling him to do whatever he'd like. Taking her at her word, Alfred hops onto Muffy with Cruz and they set off, leaving Fem in shock. Annoyed, Fem dashes off, grumbling that she does not care. Alfred calls after her, reminding her that she gave him permission. After their walk, the group followed a sulking Fem back home. Alfred calls out to her, trying to get her attention, while Vivi wonders what could be wrong with the demon wolf. Fem sits with her back to everyone, pointedly ignoring them. Alfred chuckles, realizing Fem is upset simply because he rode on Muffy, finding her cute moments endearing. As Muffy approaches to ask if she's mad, Fem twitches but insists that she is not. Fem insists she isn't mad, but Alfred continues to question her. He admits he feels self-conscious asking her. He strokes her fur, reassuring her that he always appreciates when she lets him ride on her back. He tells her that she is the one he truly wants to ride on. Alfred declares that the Demon Wolf King is the only partner for him. Fem's tails begin to wag, her mood clearly lifted by his words. She reluctantly offers her paw, and Alfred thanks her with a gentle pat. Fem asks Muffy if it was also happy to have Al riding on its back. Muffy nods, confirming it was happy. Nearby, two of the girls snicker that Al is so popular with animals, wishing he had the same charm with humans. Vivi proudly presents her perfected magic circles for the seed potatoes, explaining they just need to dry in the sun for a few days. The others comment on how splendidly she handled the task, feeling lucky to have observed her work. Vivi is pleased by the praise, accepting the kind words. Since they have some free time, Mayat offers to show everyone around Mulg village. The others are excited by the idea of a tour, happy to be together. Mayat is overjoyed that the village has become so lively and promises to put all her effort into making dinner for everyone. The happy mood is broken when a girl named Luca urgently interrupts, saying she needs to speak with Alfred. She insists on speaking with him right now. His expression turns serious as he reveals that they were attacked by numerous magical beasts in the forest just a short distance away. Luca is shocked as Alfred specifies the attackers, a pack of 2 wyverns, 3 basilisks, and an earth dragon. He asks her if she also thinks that is weird. Another person exclaims in disbelief, stating that those kinds of magical beasts don't inhabit this area. Alfred confirms it's the truth and that he's perplexed by it all, especially since they all attacked at once. Alfred suspects someone is making a mess somewhere and asks Fem to report anything unusual. He's also worried about the bear that appeared earlier, which was chased out of its territory. He recalls that before the magical beasts attacked, they were first attacked by a wild bear. Alfred tells Luca that according to Fem, the bear was reacting to Muffy's pee. Luca contemplates the significance of Muffy's urine, wondering if it has anything to do with the attacks. Standing with Fem, Alfred confidently states that he has a hypothesis. Alfred theorizes that Muffy's urine contains a high concentration of magical energy. He suggests this is what drew in the magical beasts as well as the bear. Luca confirms this is plausible, explaining that recent research shows magical beasts can use magical energy as sustenance. This leads Alfred to a shocking realization. The group recalls that the hot spring water was so tasty because it contained magic crystals. Luca, her scientific curiosity piqued, glances intently at Muffy. As a magical beast scholar, Luca is intrigued and asks Muffy if she can extract some urine for examination, which startles the sacred beast. Alfred quickly steps in, telling Luca not to do anything Muffy doesn't like. He then explains to Luca that she'll have to be patient as Muffy doesn't relieve itself often. He turns to Muffy, asking if it will help Luca study its pee. Luca hands Alfred a small bottle to use for collection. She asks him to use it when needed. Later in the bathhouse, Alfred tells someone who has been soaking for a while to hurry up and get out before they get dizzy. Inside, Fem and Muffy are happily guzzling the spring water again. Alfred shoos them out of the bath area. Fem grabs his towel as they leave. Fem cleverly uses the towel to dry Alfred off. Suddenly, Muffy begins to tremble, indicating it needs to relieve itself. Panicked, Alfred grabs the sacred beast, telling it to hold on while he takes it outside. Alfred rushes outside with Muffy and the bottle, encouraging the sacred beast. After successfully collecting the sample, he examines the contents, noting that it appears to be normal pee in both color and smell. Alfred asks Fem if she's all right. He then jokingly asks if she needs to pee too. An offended Fem barks back that she is not so indiscreet and can handle that on her own. Later, the group gathers for a magnificent feast. Two of the women announce a toast to welcome Urina and to celebrate being able to have dinner together. The entire group happily raises their glasses and cheers. Everyone enjoys the festive meal together. Vivi enthusiastically declares that she's looking forward to the seed potatoes sprouting. Alfred realizes that with no farm work to do for a few days, he has nothing to do. He asks Myrt if there's any work around the village he can help with. Vivi suggests that with his free time, he should rebuild his cabin. Alfred recalls that the cabin he shared with Vivi burned down, and they have been staying at Myrt's house since. Alfred agrees, saying they can't stay in Myrt's care forever as it would be an inconvenience. Hearing this, Myrt becomes visibly upset. Noticing her reaction, Alfred asks what's wrong as she quietly calls his name. Myrt tearfully insists that he has never been an inconvenience to her, not even once. A young elf child worries that Alfred is leaving and will be missed. He reassures her that once he has a new cabin, she can come and play any time she wants. Flustered, Myrt announces she's going to turn down the beds and rushes off. Later, Alfred knocks on her door, calling her name. When she opens it, he tells her he just wants to say thanks for everything and asks for her hand. He places a stack of gold coins in her palm, explaining it's to cover lodging and food expenses and to show his gratitude. Myrt is shocked and insists she can't accept them, but Alfred gently encourages her to take them. Myrt clenches the coins, thinking that if she accepts them, it will feel like everything is over. Alfred smiles and thanks her for the night as he prepares to leave. As he walks out and closes the door, Alfred adds that once his cabin is done, she can come over any time as well. Left alone, a blushing and emotional Myrt whispers his name. The group gathers to discuss the design for Alfred's new cabin, with Vivi eagerly asking for his preferences. Myrt quietly expresses her wish for a spacious cabin. She explains her desire to be able to care for injured or sick wolves indoors. Alfred agrees that the harsh winters necessitate shelter and suggests building a kennel for the wolves. Vivi excitedly adds that she's also designing a room for Muffy. Muffy nuzzles Alfred, showing it wants to stay with him. Muffy happily imagines sleeping together with Al. The thought comes as a shock to Fem. Flustered, Fem asks if she can also sleep in the same room, to which Alfred laughingly agrees. A young elf girl excitedly declares she wants her own room. Alfred is completely overwhelmed by the sudden flood of requests. He realizes that even the young elf wants a room in his cabin. Another girl, Cruz, adds that she wants to share a room with Luca. Luca specifies that while she doesn't care about size, she would like to have a desk. Luca suggests Myrt should say something to calm the situation. Myrt quietly states that she has her own house to live in with Colette. After Myrt falls silent, Luca becomes concerned. She gently asks Myrt if she is okay. Myrt remembers her efforts to make her house a place where Al could feel at ease. but now she feels left behind, imagining them all together in a different home. She whispers that the thought of not living with everyone anymore makes her feel lonely. Luca seems to have overheard her quiet confession. Mayurt quickly excuses herself and runs upstairs, claiming she needs to turn down the beds. Luca watches her go, puzzled by her behavior. The next day dawns. After his friends depart for the capital, Alfred returns to his guard duties. Mayurt arrives with the village mayor. Alfred thanks the mayor for coming to discuss the rebuilding of his cabin. Alfred proposes building behind the storehouse, and the mayor approves the plan. The mayor expresses concern that Alfred might get lonely living outside the gate. He smiles and offers lumber from the commons for the construction. Vivi excitedly presents a blueprint she worked on all night. The mayor is impressed that they already have everything ready to go. The blueprint is revealed to be for a massive mansion. The mayor is stunned by the sheer scale of the design. Alfred and the others agree that it's more of a mansion than a cabin and far too large. Vivi suggests that even a tenth of the proposed size would be enough. Alfred realizes Vivi's perception of a home is on a grand scale. He muses that this is expected of one of the elite 4 heavenly kings. The group gets to work revising the blueprint. Vivi proudly announces the revised plan is complete. Even after the changes, the mayor and Alfred find the design to be quite large and luxurious for a guard's cabin. The mayor explains that the problem isn't the space, but the lack of available lumber. Alfred agrees, understanding the need to save wood for winter fuel, and says he'll reconsider the materials. The mayor looks forward to seeing the finished product. After a moment of thought, Alfred announces that he has an idea. Someone suggests buying materials from the capital, but Alfred refuses. He declares that he is going to make bricks instead. Vivi protests that making bricks is expensive and a lot of hard work. Mayurt and Vivi whisper to each other in confusion, recalling that he's a god, but Alfred interjects that he's a god too. With a flourish of magic, Alfred confidently declares that he is a wizard. He explains that creating the materials and building the cabin will be easy with magic. He asks Femme to find a place with clay-like soil, and she confirms there is some near a stream in the mountains. He then asks Vivi to use her combustion magic to fire the bricks, and she proudly accepts the challenge. Mayurt asks if she can observe the process as well. Alfred happily agrees to let her watch. Normally, making bricks is a laborious process that takes over a week. With the use of magic, however, it becomes a simple task. Alfred sits with Femme, satisfied with his first magically created brick. The villagers are amazed that someone can build a house so easily. He is startled by the sudden appearance of a crowd. Mayurt explains that she brought all the villagers who are eager to witness his magic firsthand. The villagers are in awe, realizing magic can accomplish things they never imagined. Mayurt proudly tells them there's no doubt about his skill, which only makes Alfred more embarrassed. Alfred tries to lower their expectations, explaining it's not as simple as snapping his fingers. The villagers continue to praise Alfred's amazing abilities. Vivi calls out, showing that she has prepared the magic circles to fire the bricks. She confidently boasts that her brick-firing skills will impress even a top-class craftsman. A brilliant flash emanates from the magic circles. A massive torrent of magical flame erupts, startling Alfred. The villagers are stunned, with one noting that the huge blaze isn't hot at all. Alfred proudly explains that the flames are beautiful on their own. With their combined magic, they finished making all the bricks on the first day. On the second day, the magically created bricks float into the air as construction finally begins. Alfred reveals that his gravity magic is the key to the construction, making it a simple, repetitive process. He magically applies mortar to the bricks. The bricks then line up and stack themselves perfectly into place. The villagers are left stunned and speechless by the magical construction. The crowd watches in awe as the walls rise at an incredible speed. Alfred feels a bit embarrassed by all the attention, but thanks them for their support. Mayurt is left dazed, unable to believe how marvelously and quickly he accomplished the task. The villagers praise Alfred's skill, and Vivi proudly agrees that it's a characteristic unique to him. One man jokes that he should ask Alfred to become his daughter's husband. The sudden proposal startles Mayurt, and the man quickly apologizes, saying he was only joking. As the sun sets, Alfred announces the exterior is complete, and the villagers applaud. Vivi excitedly tells the villagers she's going to engrave reinforcement magic circles on the building. Alfred entrusts the task to her, and she confidently accepts. He then turns, having noticed a group approaching. Luca and her companions arrive, surprised that the construction is already finished. One of them expresses surprise that he's already finished building it. Alfred thanks them, explaining he'll finish the interior tomorrow. The group realizes this means they can't go inside yet. Alfred suggests they all have a housewarming party the next day. Meanwhile, Vivi explains that she applied various protective magic circles throughout the entire structure. Mayurt tells Vivi her work is amazing and asks for her help with her own house. Vivi happily agrees to draw some magic circles for her. Luca notices Alfred has been zoned out and asks if he's okay. He reassures her that nothing is wrong. He explains he's just a little tired. His friends realize it's because he used a ton of magic for the construction. Mayurt advises Alfred to rest up for the party tomorrow. He jokes about being a freeloader, but she quickly tells him not to think of it that way. She smiles, telling him she has enjoyed every second of his stay. She wishes him a good night. Just as she is about to leave, Alfred calls out to her. He tells her he's noticed she hasn't been her usual energetic self lately. He encourages her to confide in him if something is bothering her. He reminds her of how much she does for him and offers his support in return. Mayurt is touched by his concern. Mayurt smiles, feeling that she can trust Al, and thanks him. Under the moonlight, she wonders if she should finally tell him how she feels. Later that night, Alfred is sound asleep. A creaking sound startles him awake. He wonders if Vivi has snuck into his room. He realizes with a start that it's Mayurt getting into his bed. Mayurt lies on top of him and asks if she woke him up. Alfred is completely stunned by the situation. He stammers her name, trying to understand what is happening. With a determined smile, Mayurt announces that she came to sleep with him. Fem and Muffy are shocked by the sudden turn of events. Mayurt explains that she didn't know what to do when she learned he was moving out. She confesses she was overwhelmed with loneliness and couldn't convey her feelings honestly. As Mayurt continues to pour out her heart, a flustered Alfred tries to get her to calm down. Muffy interrupts them, demanding to know why it's being ignored during an important discussion. Alfred gently pats Mayurt's head, reassuring her that he will listen. Alfred calms Muffy down with a reassuring cuddle. He apologizes to Mayurt for not realizing how lonely she felt. He clarifies that he's not leaving the village and invites her to visit any time, even suggesting she could live there. Alfred tells Mayurt he wants to continue eating her homemade food and being welcomed home by her. He asks if he can depend on her for that, calling it something only she can do. Mayurt joyfully exclaims that she would love to. Alfred proposes having a housewarming party with everyone to celebrate. With a lot to do tomorrow, they agree it's a good idea to get some sleep. Mayurt snuggles into bed next to him, making Alfred wonder if she intends to sleep there. She asks if he would do her a favor. She asks if he could rub her head until she goes to sleep. Alfred readily agrees to her request. As he gently strokes her hair, he wishes Mayurt a good night. With help from the village carpenters, Alfred finished the interior of his new cabin and a kennel for the wolves. The new house in Mulg village is finally complete, and the villagers gather to celebrate. Alfred happily invites everyone to look around inside. Alfred's friends are eager to take a look inside. The villagers marvel at the impressive new home, commenting on how convenient magic is. Alfred feels a sense of relief seeing everyone so happy. He notices Millet's joyful and relieved expression, noting it's been a while since he's seen her look that way. Alfred checks on Fem and the other wolves, asking how they like their new kennel. He then joins his friends at the entrance to the house. They all step inside, their faces filled with wonder. Everyone bustles into the massive main room, commenting on the pleasant fragrance of the wood. Vivi excitedly shows Alfred the storehouse, which she's enchanted to prevent spoilage. She proudly points out a box that keeps things cool and another that can freeze items. Vivi urges Alfred to see the bathroom next. They find it bright, wide, and equipped with a bathtub. The girls wonder if the cabin might even have a hot spring. They are thrilled to discover an open-air bath that was prepared behind the cabin. A sudden knock at the door startles Alfred. He opens it to find the villagers, who have arrived to congratulate him on finishing the construction. They announce that they are all ready for the celebration. Millet explains that all the villagers celebrate whenever a new house is built. Hearing this, Alfred grins and decides they should pull out all the stops. That day, the cabin was bustling with people late into the night. The next morning, Alfred is exhausted and hungover. He admits he drank too much out of relief, but Vivi asks if he has forgotten something important. She points to a crate and exclaims that she's talking about the seed potatoes. Alfred looks and sees that the sprouts have indeed started to grow. Alfred recalls Vivi telling him he'd have plenty of free time to rebuild the cabin before the sprouts grew, and now he asks if they can plant them. He realizes she is right. With renewed determination, he grasps a potato and declares that they should do it. Alfred declares that planting is the best part of farming and tells Femme to get Mayert and Colette so they can all plant together. As he talks, Millet and Femme are already lost in daydreams about potato dishes, causing Vivi to ask if they're even listening. Vivi begins to explain how to plant the sprouts. She instructs them to place the potatoes about 30 centimeters apart with the sprouts facing upwards. After that, they just need to lightly cover them with soil. As they work, one of the girls compliments Femme on being so skilled. Vivi explains that potatoes do not require much water, but will need more care in the future. Alfred agrees that thinking of the harvest makes the hard work worth it. Vivi says she'll be relying on her for more help from now on. Millet suggests they write the species names on markers for where they planted the potatoes, and Colette happily agrees. While placing the markers, the group hopes for a large harvest. Suddenly, Alfred is alerted by barking. He realizes Femme and the other wolves were helping with pest extermination. They have brought back a pile of dead rats which they drop at his feet. The wolves stare at Alfred, waiting. One of the girls explains that they are waiting for him to praise them. He thanks them all for their hard work and praises them. He tells them they can eat their catch. The next day, Alfred discovers another pile of rats. He yells in alarm. He is shocked to see an unusually large one among them, realizing it's a demon rat. Femme proudly states that she was the one who killed the magical beast. Alfred recognizes it as a rare creature. He praises Femme and asks to examine the creature, noting that this is a bad sign. He recalls that demon rats are massive creatures that can devastate a village's crops. They are insidious because they reproduce so quickly. Alfred asks Femme to continue exterminating the demon rats and to report anything she finds. He is determined not to let his first farm be destroyed. However, the next day, an even larger pile of dead demon rats appears. In despair, Alfred wonders why there are so many supposedly rare demon rats. Femme confirms they are rare, but explains that she feels the forest has been changing lately. She reports having seen goblins in her territory and that it seems the population of all weaker creatures has increased. Alfred asks about the goblins, and Femme explains they are weak but brutal magical beasts that are rarely seen. Their discussion is abruptly interrupted by the cry of a goblin. Alfred is startled by a sudden attack. Alfred calls out in alarm as he sees Muffy has captured the flailing goblin alive. He rushes over to check if Muffy is hurt. The small creature is unharmed and sparkling, clearly expecting praise for its heroic deed. Realizing Muffy wants the same praise as Femme and the wolves, Alfred congratulates it on a nice job. He then asks where it found the goblin. Muffy indicates they should follow it, and Alfred rides on Femme as they venture into the forest. As they walk, a rustling sound in the bushes puts them on alert. Suddenly, a horde of goblins ambushes them from the trees. Alfred immediately prepares a spell to defend himself and his companions. With a powerful blast of magic, Alfred instantly defeats the goblins. He then realizes with a gasp where they are. This is the exact location where they had collected clay to make bricks for his house. Alfred wonders if the goblins made a den in the hole he left uncovered. Femme confirms that it seems so. Femme is embarrassed for letting them infiltrate her territory, admitting she was preoccupied with the rats. Alfred then asks Muffy how it noticed the goblins. He points out that even Femme's excellent sense of smell had failed to detect them. Muffy communicates that it had a bad feeling about the forest. Alfred realizes Muffy must have a unique intuition as a sacred beast. This prompts him to ask Femme about the behavior of other animals. She confirms that more demon bears have been trespassing lately, suggesting the area is being inundated with weaker creatures. Alfred recalls that a few days ago they encountered an earth dragon, a creature that shouldn't even inhabit this area. Pondering the strange occurrences, he wonders what is happening. He wonders if all these creatures are being chased into their territory by a dragon. Deciding he needs to investigate immediately, Alfred prepares to leave with Femme and Muffy. He is suddenly called out to. A panicked Vivi rushes toward them, exclaiming that the situation is bad, having heard about the demon rats from the villagers. She insists on going with him to investigate the forest. The group rushes through the forest, heading toward the place where they had their walk. As they speed along, Alfred has a grave expression. He gravely considers that the ecosystem is collapsing. Alfred doesn't know where these threats are coming from, but he knows if they don't withdraw, he is going to kill them all. He makes a firm resolution to protect the village. A woman explains to Alfred that while Muffy's urine has an exceptionally high concentration of magical energy, it is otherwise normal. Alfred wonders if the dragon's attack was an attempt to eat Muffy for its magical energy. The woman remains unsure, puzzled as to why a dragon would venture so close to a human settlement. The woman asks Alfred if he recalls the condition of the earth dragon and other beasts, wondering if they were sick or injured. Alfred volunteers to investigate, stating he will exterminate any threats he finds. The woman understands how busy he is. However, Alfred insists he will still need her help to get to the bottom of this. She agrees, saying she will be counting on him. Millet pleads with Luca to help Alfred for the sake of the village. Luca assures her that her help is a foregone conclusion. She proudly declares that having her on their side is like having the strength of 100 people. With a determined expression, Alfred prepares to cast a spell. His magic strikes an armored dragon with explosive force. Vivi panics as monsters surround them. Alfred tells a wheezing Vivi that the forest is teeming with monsters and reminds her to defeat them cleanly for their sample. He explains that the appearance of the earth dragons is causing the ecosystem to break down. Alfred comforts a whining femme, reassuring her that it is not her fault. Arriving at the place where they last saw the earth dragon, Alfred notes that while it seems quiet, he can sense a strong presence. Femme confirms that dragons are likely just outside the demon wolves' territory. Deciding there is no point in waiting, Alfred resolves to keep moving. The group continues through the forest. Suddenly, Femme's ear twitches as she catches a scent on the wind. Alfred realizes she smells flesh and bone and asks if she wants to follow it. Vivi dashes ahead, pointing the way. She shudders at what she sees. The group finds a clearing littered with the bones of dragons, basilisks, and bears, which Vivi suspects is a feeding ground. Vivi exclaims that this is impossible since dragons have no natural enemies, but Alfred observes bite marks on the clean-picked bones and decides to take samples. After investigating, Femme concludes from the teeth marks and smell that earth dragons ate the remains. A terrified Vivi clings to Alfred, unable to believe what she's hearing. The grim truth is that the dragons were cannibalized by their own species. Alfred reasons there must be a cause for the dragons to leave their natural habitat. He speculates that a natural disaster or an even stronger creature forced them to flee. He now understands that while the dragons avoided the demon wolf king's territory, less intelligent monsters fled into human lands. He grimly concludes that it is only a matter of time before the hungry dragons do the same. Femme clarifies that while it is cannibalism, the dragons likely ate the corpses of others that had already starved to death. She explains that the magic in the blood is bad, and there are no signs of struggle on the bones. Alfred interprets this to mean the magic concentration was low, a detail perceptible to magical beasts. He realizes the previous attack was likely an attempt to eat Muffy, who possesses a large amount of magical energy. Alfred turns to Muffy and asks it to pee, shocking Vivi. Vivi angrily grabs Muffy, accusing Alfred of planning to use it as bait, but he counters that they cannot simply leave the starving dragons be. Alfred acknowledges her concern, but declares his intent to deal with the entire group before they cause more damage, promising a complete victory. With her heart pounding, Vivi agrees to let Muffy help and vows to protect her. Inspired, Muffy puffs out its chest, ready to fight and protect. Vivi is overcome with emotion at Muffy's bravery. Vivi is deeply moved by Muffy's bravery. Vivi rallies the group to protect the village, while Femme prepares for a fight. Despite trembling, Muffy resolutely announces it will pee. It creates a large puddle on the ground. Alfred comments on the impressive amount. Alfred begins to cast a spell. Suddenly, a tremendous roar echoes through the trees, startling the group. Dragons descend from the sky as one on the ground roars, calling its friends. A larger dragon appears, and though it still looks skinny, Femme confirms it is obviously starving. The dragon sniffs the air, homing in on the scent. Its eye glares menacingly. Alfred prepares a spell and shouts for Vivi to cover her ears and hide. The dragon lets out a roar imbued with tremendous magic energy. Vivi is stunned by the power. She trembles in fear, overwhelmed by the blast. Vivi slumps over Muffy, unable to withstand the roar's power. Alfred notes that even 100 soldiers would be easily annihilated by such a roar and checks on Fem. He tells Muffy to stay by Vivi's side as he prepares to fight. Facing a horde of dragons attacking all at once, Alfred decides to get rid of the small fries first. A massive horned white beast suddenly appears, slamming into the dragons as Alfred looks on in shock. The beast crashes into a dragon, sending blood flying. The other dragons roar in aggression. It grabs the smaller dragons with ease. The creature shakes its prey violently. The beast throws the smaller dragons around. It stomps down, crushing one underfoot. Alfred and Fem watch in disbelief, wondering if this is real. The transformed Muffy stands amidst the twitching bodies of the defeated dragons. Alfred comments on its impressive strength, noting he didn't even get a turn. The larger dragon flaps its wings, trying to escape. Alfred declares that it won't get away and prepares another spell. The dragon crashes to the ground, defeated. Alfred remarks that it was a close call. He then rushes to Muffy, who has returned to its small form, and asks if it is okay. Alfred praises Muffy for being incredible, as Fem licks it affectionately. Vivi emerges from behind a tree, still trembling. She cautiously approaches, asking if Alfred is okay. Vivi asks if he already beat the dragons, and Alfred explains that Muffy actually did most of the work. Vivi asks if the forest and village are safe now, but Alfred tells her no. He explains that this was nothing more than a stopgap measure. Alfred states they still need to figure out where the dragons came from and what they are running from. He decides they will take a sample and head back to the village for now. Millet rushes towards Alfred, exclaiming she was worried since he disappeared so suddenly. She explains she was concerned after he mentioned exterminating the dragons. Alfred is surprised to see Cruz and asks why he isn't at his job in the capital, but Cruz says he finished everything before coming. Alfred remarks that the timing is perfect. He asks Cruz to get Luca and Myrt to get the mayor, as he wants Luca to examine the dragon they hunted. Luca opens the door, stating she heard everything. She declares that it looks like her turn now. Putting on her glasses, Luca reminds Alfred that tomorrow was supposed to be her day off and asks if he will compensate her fairly. Alfred quickly presents the dead dragon to her. Alfred reports to the villagers and mayor about the demon rats and the dragons destroying the forest ecosystem, having left the examination of the beasts to Luca. The mayor expresses his disbelief that such a thing is happening. Myrt and the mayor plead with Alfred to do something to save Mulg village. Alfred confidently agrees, stating that he is the guard there for exactly that reason. Inside, someone is writing diligently. Myrt worries about Luca, who has locked herself in her room and skipped dinner. Vivi tells Myrt not to bother her, thinking she might be unwell. Alfred explains that Luca has incredible concentration and won't notice anyone while she's working. He adds that if she gets hungry, she will just eat some jerky. Luca is shown chomping on something while she works. Alfred reflects that Luca is also a genius, though a different sort than Cruz. The next morning, Fem wakes Alfred as Luca enters his room. A groggy Alfred is greeted by Luca, who hands him a document. She tells him it is the results of her examination. Looking exhausted, Luca sways and tells Alfred she wrote the report simply enough for even Cruz to understand, so he should be grateful. She then collapses from exhaustion into Alfred's arms. Alfred realizes she's fast asleep. The rest of the group gathers around to read the report, amazed by what they see. The report includes detailed information about the distribution of different species, revealing where the magical beasts came from. Alfred remarks that Luca really put her heart and soul into the report. He feels that with this new information, he can continue the investigation. The report indicates that the Earth Dragons came down from the western mountain range. Alfred shudders at the thought. He realizes there might be an enemy waiting there, stronger than he can even imagine. Vivi and Muffy travel alongside Fem, making their way deeper into the wilderness. Their destination is the heart of the forest, where they hope to find the origin of the disturbance. Alfred reflects that he has no time to spare if he wants to save both the village and the ecosystem. He grins, eager for the S-rank wizard to finally have his turn against a worthy opponent. Vivi asks Alfred why he didn't bring their friends, believing more strength would mean more safety. Vivi reacts with shock to the news of a jinn, a creature said to be humans transformed into magical beasts. She laments that there seems to be danger everywhere recently, while Alfred playfully questions if a former member of the Elite Four Heavenly Kings should be saying that. As they ride, Alfred has a sudden thought, mentioning that he just noticed something. The group proceeds through the quiet woods, with Alfred observing the strange absence of any creatures. He turns to his companion and asks Femme if she can sense anything nearby. Alfred finds the complete absence of life unsettling, noting he can barely even hear insects. Vivi points toward the mountains, certain that is where the enemy lies. With their destination in sight, they resolve to continue their journey. Alfred spots a clearing with a stream, signaling a place to rest. While Alfred and Femme drink from the stream, Vivi laughs happily. The sun rises over the mountain peaks, marking the passage of time. Alfred sits by the campfire, keeping watch through the night. Vivi snores quietly, fast asleep. Alfred eats a piece of bread, musing that he'll likely feel this way until the day he dies. He notes that the footing is getting worse, but their mounts have allowed them to travel much faster than usual. Femme suddenly tumbles, startling Alfred. Alfred asks what's wrong with Femme, concerned that she might be tired. Femme explains that an overwhelming tension grips her whenever she approaches the summit. Alfred checks on Muffy as well, and Vivi happily reports that her companion is perfectly fine. Initially, their vision is completely obscured by the clouds. The clouds part, revealing a magnificent view that leaves everyone in awe. Vivi excitedly runs ahead to explore, much to Alfred's chagrin. Femme begins to whine and chatter her teeth, sensing danger. Alfred yells at Vivi and Muffy, warning them not to be careless. Alfred's expression turns grim as he feels a powerful, malevolent presence nearby. The group is on high alert, startled by the sudden feeling of danger. As the ground trembles, Alfred suggests they sneak over for a closer look. The sight of the massive, sleeping ancient dragon leaves the entire party in a state of shock and disbelief. They are known as the most ancient species of dragons, beings of phenomenal intellect and power. Their habitats are said to be in the most remote places, from polar regions to the vacuum of space, far from human eyes. Vivi is so terrified by the presence of the dragon that she begins to bow frantically. Vivi frantically tells Alfred that they must show respect to what is essentially a dragon god. Alfred, sweating nervously, wonders what their first move should be. Vivi grabs Alfred, telling him not to get bewildered so easily. Alfred notes that the dragon appears to be asleep. Femme growls, ready for an attack, but Alfred holds her back. Vivi reminds him that their goal was to defeat this powerful enemy. The gravity of their mission to protect the village dawns on Vivi. She turns to Alfred, whose eyes gleam with determination. Alfred states his preference to avoid a fight if he can. He plans to reason with the dragon, hoping its intelligence will allow for a peaceful resolution. Vivi anxiously asks what he will do if negotiations fail. Alfred dismisses her concern, saying he'll figure it out if a fight breaks out. Vivi desperately pleads with Alfred, certain that an ancient dragon is an exceptionally strong foe. Alfred gently reassures her, telling her to listen and not to worry as he can win. He tells Vivi that he needs her and Muffy to hide so he can fight without distraction. Alfred tells Muffy to take care of Vivi. Vivi tearfully declares that she believes in Alfred. Alfred confesses to Femme that he was bluffing and asks her to flee if the fight turns against them, but she refuses. Femme firmly states that as his mount, she will not leave his side. Alfred smiles, thanking Femme for her reassuring loyalty. He marvels at the real ancient dragon, seeing it as the very incarnation of a god. He decides to wait for the dragon to wake up naturally, believing it would be annoyed if woken by force. The dragon's eyes slowly blink open. Now fully awake, the dragon confronts Alfred, who asks if it is the dragon. Alfred introduces himself and asks the ancient dragon for the reason behind its presence. He explains that magical beasts, frightened by the dragon's energy, are causing trouble near his village. Alfred makes a direct request for the dragon to leave. Vivi watches from hiding as the confrontation unfolds. The dragon rises, its heartbeat echoing as Alfred pleads for it to understand. The dragon's eyes focus intently on Alfred. Suddenly, its pupils transform into swirling patterns, emitting a powerful flash. Alfred's heart pounds as he stares blankly, completely entranced by the dragon's power. Vivi calls out to him in a panic. As the dragon powers up, Alfred breaks free from its spell and urgently tells Femme to prepare for an attack. A massive roar erupts from the dragon. A pillar of light shoots into the sky from the summit, visible for miles. The sheer force of the roar makes Alfred shudder, wondering at its power. He asks Femme if she's all right, and she replies that she's barely holding on. He looks over to Muffy, who stands guard over Vivi. Realizing Vivi is safe with Muffy, Alfred steels himself and shouts, "Here it comes." The dragon exhales a powerful blizzard breath attack. Alfred notes his magic barrier is making an awful noise as it struggles against the powerful magic. He realizes that at this rate, his defense is going to shatter. Alfred curses as his magical defenses finally give way. Femme swiftly carries Alfred out of the path of the attack, earning his praise. Alfred tells Femme to run, acknowledging that his magic is not powerful enough to pierce the dragon's defenses. He resolves to wait for an opening to unleash his most powerful spell. The dragon prepares another blizzard breath, but this time Alfred is ready, stating this is the moment he's been waiting for. He launches the dark spell which strikes the dragon directly, causing it to swallow the magic. Vivi identifies the spell as gravity magic. She marvels at the plan, one that only the best user of gravity magic could devise. Alfred confirms her deduction with a simple bingo. He explains that this time he is not using his magic to lighten things. The ground cracks under the dragon's weight. The dragon struggles to move as Alfred's spell forces it to sink into the earth. With his target pinned, Alfred prepares his final attack. Alfred unleashes a massive barrage of fire bullets at the immobilized dragon. The fiery attack explodes against the dragon with tremendous force. Alfred notes that the ancient dragon's barrier has been broken. He keeps up the relentless barrage, vowing to keep the dragon pinned down. Vivi observes that the dragon is shrieking in pain. She concludes that Alfred is truly a cut above everyone else. Alfred and Femme stand ready after the attack. The ancient dragon is left battered and wounded. Alfred approaches the defeated dragon and asks if it's ready to listen. The dragon lies exhausted on the ground. The ancient dragon shudders under the immense pressure, shocked that a human could pin it down. Alfred realizes the dragon communicates by magically manipulating air vibrations so the human ear can hear them, a new discovery for him. He states that they came to talk and makes an offer. If the dragon promises to remain calm, he will release it from the gravity spell. The dragon accepts Alfred's offer, giving its word. Alfred thanks the creature for its cooperation. He releases the spell, allowing the massive beast to slowly get back on its feet. Vivi marvels at the dragon's majestic presence. Alfred apologizes for the confrontation, and the dragon asks him to restate his purpose. Alfred details how the dragon's presence has negatively impacted his village and the surrounding forest. He frankly tells the dragon that its presence is a problem and asks it to leave. The dragon understands and expresses its sincere apologies. Alfred expresses his relief, believing the issue is resolved. However, the dragon states that leaving is impossible, much to Alfred's surprise. It demonstrates its inability to fly due to a badly damaged wing. Alfred wonders about the cause of the injury, knowing his own magic was not responsible. The dragon reveals its shocking secret. It is already dead and is only maintaining its physical form with magic. Horrified, Alfred questions if the dragon is an undead. He questions why it would fight him while in such a sorry state and what could have happened to it. Femme looks on with concern. Vivi shares in the shock and worry. Alfred asks the dragon to tell him its story. The dragon begins by revealing its high status as an Archduke dragon who governs the North Pole. It explains that recently its precious egg was stolen. It pursued the thief into human territory to get it back. Alfred asks if the dragon managed to retrieve the egg. The dragon confirms it did and trembles with resolve to protect it. The thief is identified as an unknown djinn. The djinn was no match for the Archduke dragon's true power. After retrieving its egg, the dragon prepared to eliminate the thief. But the djinn cowardly took the dragon's egg hostage. A crack appeared on the precious eggshell. The dragon looks on in horror. The smirking djinn now had the upper hand. The dragon recounts that after that the battle was one-sided. The dragon endured the djinn's attacks to protect its child. It lowered its defenses and took the full force of every curse. It even willingly entered a magic circle to be zombified. It endured the process, waiting for the right moment. The dragon declares that it never gave up. The djinn believed it had successfully turned the dragon into a zombie. This perceived victory caused the djinn to let its guard down. The dragon's eye flashes, seeing its chance. It seized the opportunity to grab its egg and escape. Despite being hit by a deadly arrow, the dragon successfully fled from the djinn. It explains that it had just landed to rest when their paths crossed. Alfred listens silently to the conclusion of the tale. The dragon apologizes for its earlier aggression, explaining the misunderstanding. Alfred reflects on how absurd the entire situation feels. He tells the dragon not to worry about it. The dragon reaffirms its desperate will to live. It reveals that to halt the zombification, it turned itself into a skeleton. All of this was done out of love as a parent. It wanted to see its egg hatch and watch its child grow. It dreamed of seeing its offspring grow into a magnificent dragon. It calls out to the mighty child of man. The dragon formally introduces itself as Silnidra, Archduke of the North Pole. Alfred introduces himself as Viscount Alfred Lint. Silnidra questions why a Viscount would be a mere guardsman. Alfred explains that he is also recovering from an injury. The dragon laughs, remarking on their similar circumstances. Vivi points out a black kite in the sky. Silnidra turns to Alfred with a solemn request. The dragon's shocking favor is for Alfred to end its life. Alfred is stunned into silence. Silnidra admits it can no longer fight the curses and will soon become a zombie. Alfred's first concern is for the dragon's egg. Silnidra asks Alfred if it can entrust its child to him. It begs him to honor the last wish of a parent. Alfred is left speechless by the heavy request. Alfred objects, stating he's never reared a baby dragon before. He takes the egg, telling himself not to worry. Silnidra explains that the egg doesn't need special care and will hatch on its own. It believes that time will come soon. Vivi interrupts, yelling at Alfred. She implores him to use his wisdom to save the dragon. Alfred considers a plan involving consecration, but realizes it would be difficult. Vivi explains the magical complexities that make such a spell impossible. She adds that the zombification curse presents another major obstacle, which Alfred acknowledges. Alfred considers using healing magic for peace of mind. Silnidra thanks him but states the curse is irreversible. It describes the unbearable pain and its struggle to endure for its child, admitting it can't go on. The dragon notes the egg's high resistance to damage. Silnidra formally asks Alfred to protect the egg from the thief. It expresses its trust in Alfred's strength and character, though Alfred modestly disagrees. Silnidra insists Alfred's strength is genuine and asks him to witness the hatching in its place. Alfred agrees to take care of the egg, and Silnidra accepts his promise. Silnidra says its goodbyes to its unborn child, wishing it happiness. A single tear falls from the dragon's eye. Its final words are a request for Alfred to care for its child. Alfred gives the unborn dragon a name, Asura. He tells the dying parent that it's a great name. Silnidra remembers a final gift. It gives Alfred its only treasure, a pouch that will help him gain the aid of other dragons. Alfred thanks the dragon for its gift. Silnidra acknowledges his thanks before passing. With a final sigh of exhaustion, the great dragon collapses. The dragon declares that it is now dead. It gives a final command to destroy its corpse before it succumbs to zombification, as Vivi cries in the background. Alfred sheds a tear for the fallen Archduke. The dragon's breathing ceases. Alfred wipes away his tear. He prepares a spell to fulfill his promise. A massive explosion of light engulfs the summit, marking the end of the noble Archduke dragon Silnidra. Alfred reflects on his difficult past, having lost both his parents when he was young. At the age of 15, he became an adventurer, earning his own money to devote himself to practicing magic. It was a path of hard work and struggle. Holding the large egg, he feels a wave of uncertainty, wondering if he can raise the child within with enough love. He quickly steels his resolve, vowing to raise it into a magnificent ancient dragon. A swift wind blows through the desolate mountain pass. Alfred securely holds the precious dragon egg. Vivi cries, overcome with emotion, as she and Alfred gently hold the egg. They had prayed to the ancient dragon, who sacrificed itself to protect its child. Alfred comforts Vivi, reminding her that everyone at home is waiting for them. He carefully mounts Femme, telling her to run with care. Vivi asks why he can't put the egg in his magic bag, and Alfred explains that unlike regular eggs, this one is a living, fertilized being. He laughingly tells Femme that he's counting on her. Luckily, their journey home was uneventful, and they encountered no magical beasts. The next day, they entered the demon wolf forest. A few demon wolves were there to greet them, howling a welcome. Alfred realized the wolves had been protecting the village and forest while they were gone. He affectionately promised to pet them all later as a reward. Alfred explains that since magical beasts are still roaming, he will threaten them a bit so they return to their previous habitat. He warns Vivi that she had better cover her ears. He's going to unleash a roar filled with magical energy. Understanding, Vivi reluctantly presses her hands over her ears. Femme lets out a powerful, magic-infused howl that echoes through the forest, successfully scaring away the lingering beasts. Alfred is pleased with the result. With a sigh of relief, Alfred announces that they've made it home to Mulg village. Suddenly, a piercing scream shatters the calm. A young boy, Cruz, runs towards them, frantically calling out for Al. Alfred immediately gets a bad feeling about the situation. Cruz crashes into him with a tearful hug, shouting a welcome home. Cruz explains that he was worried sick because they didn't come back. Another voice chimes in, revealing that Cruz had stayed up all night waiting for their return. Cruz becomes bashful at the praise. Just then, Luca arrives, calmly acknowledging that they're back. Alfred thanks Luca, telling her that he managed to deal with everything safely because of her report. Cruz eyes the egg curiously, wondering if it's a souvenir and suggesting they make omelets. Alfred quickly shouts that it is not a souvenir. Alfred asks Colette if she was a good girl while he was gone, and she happily confirms it, adding that her sister was lonely. A young girl, Colette, runs to greet Alfred. He looks up to see Mayat, who is overcome with emotion. Mayat gently takes Alfred's hand. She confesses that she was worried, and he apologizes. With tears in her eyes, Mayat gives him a heartfelt welcome home. The sincere greeting makes Alfred's heart race. A blushing Alfred thanks her. Millet cheerfully suggests she make dinner now that everyone is together, and the group cheers in agreement. Later that evening, Alfred explains that the forest ecosystem has been restored. The cause was an ancient dragon resting at the summit of the mountain range. He reveals that the dragon is now dead, having been struck by a zombification curse and an undead-killing arrow. Its final act was to entrust him with its egg and a prized possession. Millet explains that the ancient dragon was an archduke governing the North Pole. It had traveled far to shake off a demon that had stolen its egg, and its name is Asura. Luca listens intently, deep in thought. Luca asks to take a look at the egg, and Alfred carefully hands it over. It's an ancient dragon's egg, and Vivi notes how warm it is. Luca is ecstatic, as this is her first time seeing one. She exclaims that it's a great discovery, as one could scour the world and never find a person who has seen an ancient dragon egg. Luca excitedly declares that she will come every day to observe it. The others wonder why the djinn was trying to steal the egg. Millet reminds Alfred that the dragon also gave him a treasured item, prompting him to check it. Alfred pulls out the small pouch. Everyone gathers around in awe as they see what's inside. He pulls out an ornate ring. As Millet remarks on how pretty it is, Cruz points out there is something else inside. Alfred finds a fabric-like item in the pouch. He unrolls it to find a message. The ring is the sovereign seal of the Archduke Dragon and acts as a key to its treasury. The message continues, stating that other ancient dragons will help him as long as he has the ring, and it bequeaths the ring and treasury to Alfred Lint, asking him to care for Asura. Millet explains that a dragon on the verge of death can burn its wool into fabric with magic. Luca is amazed that he has acquired something as incredible as a sovereign seal. Alfred decides to use the resources to raise Asura, and once it grows up, he'll give it everything that's left. Luca asks if he plans to carry the egg around every day, and Alfred confirms he must, as he doesn't know when the djinn might strike. She points out that he can't do his work with his hands full, which Alfred admits is a problem. Suddenly, Cruz exclaims that he has a great idea. Cruz proudly presents a baby sling made out of hydra leather, which he made in case he ever had to pick up a baby during his adventures. Alfred thanks Cruz, finding the item handy. Millet helps tie the sling, making sure it's nice and snug. Alfred is delighted, finding the sling to be a perfect solution. Millet snickers, teasing that he looks like a pregnant woman. Alfred laughs, saying his shoulders are stiff and he's going to take a bath, telling Femme and Muffy to come along. Alfred relaxes in the hot water, remarking how great it feels. Cruz, who followed him into the bath, is worried Asura will become a boiled egg, but Alfred assures him it's heat-resistant. Cruz holds the egg and happily wishes for Sayasora to be born in good health. Alfred watches them with a warm smile. Later, one of the girls excitedly asks to hold the egg. Alfred carefully hands it to her. She holds it close, surprised by how heavy it is. She snuggles the egg, calling it cute, round, white, and smooth. The other girls eagerly await their turn, while Alfred remarks that the egg itself isn't that cute. He teases her for continuing to stroke it. When it's Vivi's turn, she carefully takes the egg, also noting its weight. Alfred looks on, thinking about the warm egg and the mystery of life. Colette wishes for Sayasora to grow up big and strong. Alfred jokes that he feels like he's pregnant, while Colette calls him a mommy. Millet suddenly exclaims that the egg moved, but Alfred laughs and says it was just his abdominal muscles. He mentions that it's supposed to hatch soon, but there's no way it would be that convenient. Suddenly, the egg gives a noticeable twitch. Alfred's eyes widen in shock. He gasps, exclaiming that Sayasora really moved. Millet remains dismissive, believing there's no way something so convenient would happen. Later that night, Alfred pets the egg, still thinking about how it really did move. The house is quiet under the night sky. He wishes Femme and Muffy a good night. Alfred drifts off to sleep. A voice mutters "jerk" in the dark. Alfred is jolted awake by a strong trembling movement. A low boom echoes as he sees Cruz sleeping soundly beside him. He initially assumes the rustling was just Cruz, who must have snuck into the wrong room. But he realizes that's not it. The egg in the sling is rising and shaking, it's definitely moving. A loud crack appears on the eggshell. Alfred stares in shock, realizing it's hatching. The egg continues to crack apart. Alfred, Femme, and Muffy watch with bated breath. A small hand peeks out from the cracks. Alfred's heart pounds in his chest. Cruz, now awake, sleepily cheers for Sayasora to do its best. Femme watches intently. A small, draconic creature finally plops out of the broken shell. Alfred trembles as he looks at the newborn. The tiny dragon is now on his bed, and he cautiously calls out to it. The newborn dragon stares at Alfred. Alfred smiles warmly, greeting Sayasora with a good morning. The newly hatched Sayasora lets out a joyous cry, greeting its